5 o'clock on the dot this Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got more showers and thunderstorms to tell you about during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Election 2024, President Biden to address the nation tonight at 7 o'clock Middle Tennessee time. He's going to tell us about his decision to drop out of the race and endorse Vice President Harris, and we will be carrying that live right here on air and online. SuperTalk 99.7 WTN. Lionel Moise says Harris drew a crowd in Milwaukee yesterday.
Vice President Kamala Harris on the campaign trail for the first time as the presumptive Democratic nominee, bashing Trump's stance on abortion.
We who believe in reproductive freedom will stop Donald Trump's extreme abortion bans because we trust women to make decisions about their own body.
Well, House Speaker Mike Johnson told his weekly press conference Americans will not be fooled by this rebranding of Harris since Biden quit the race.
What has she done other than make a mess of everything? So we love this. We love that Kamala Harris is at the top of the ticket. I'm looking forward to the debate, and it will be very interesting to see how it all develops.
And new polling since Biden quit and endorsed Harris still showing Americans trust former President Trump with the hot-button issues, inflation, economy, and immigration. Here in Tennessee, Channel 4's Brendan Tierney reporting on the new details about the criminal past of the suspects in Trooper Adam Cothran's shooting, Braze Rucker and Timothy Davis.
Trooper Cothran was flown to Vandy with the bullet barely missing his spine. His wife got emotional during the press conference, posting on Facebook that he should hopefully be able to walk again.
Senseless shooting of a very good man and a very good trooper.
Metro Police Chief John Drake says Davis was convicted in 2016 on second-degree murder charges and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Rucker was convicted in 2017 and sentenced to 14 years in prison for an aggravated assault.
It's inexplicable how this person can even have had the opportunity to do this.
Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Here's Daria Albinger.
Stocks pulled back a bit from Monday's gains. The Dow closed down 57 points. The Nasdaq gave up 10, and the S&P called it a day off 9. Federal regulators are investigating Delta Airlines' response to the global cyber outage. The carrier is still trying to work through the backlog of cancellations and delays. More than 4 full days after that faulty software update wreaked havoc around the world. Sticker prices for a new GM vehicle in the last quarter averaged just under $50,000. That's a price that helped push the company's net income up 15%. Despite word that prices are coming down, GM's CFO says he doesn't see his company cutting prices much at all.
All right, Dow futures are down 182, S&P down 40, Nasdaq down 207. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Information fueled.
Opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into your Wednesday, July 24th. Hope you are doing well along with Johnny B. Ken Weaver is here in the Super Talk 99.7 WTN newsroom. Ken.
Yeah, brother Dan Mandis.
Can you play that audio from Kamala Harris again, the one where she's screeching about abortion?
Will stop Donald Trump's extreme abortion bans because we trust women to make decisions about their own body.
Well, that's going to get old real quick. Oh, Lord. You know, is she going to start speaking like Justin Jones?
Yes.
Because that's what it sounds like.
Yes.
All of a sudden now Preacher Kamala is coming out. Is that what we're going to...
That's what Democrats do during election cycles.
Here's the thing, though.
They become preachers.
Here's the funny thing, though, is, preachers aren't supposed to lie, but Kamala Harris is hitting the campaign trail, and she's lying over and over again. She's out there, and the Democrats are talking about Project 25, which, if you listen to my interview with the Heritage Foundation, and Trump himself has said he has nothing to do with this Project 2025, Agenda 2025, whatever you want to call it. And so the lies there, of course, already starting. So there's a lot to talk about. Thank you, Ken.
You're welcome, Brother Dan.
5:08, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So he's alive. Joe Biden is alive. I know that there's a lot of people out there wondering, is the president really alive? Is he out there? Is he alive? And yes, he is alive. As I said yesterday, I didn't believe that the president was dead. I did believe that he was alive, and I predicted that it was only a matter of time before we see Joe Biden. However, how long is he going to be in office? Because you have a lot of Republicans demanding that Kamala Harris and the Democrats and the cabinet, of course, invoke the 25th Amendment. That's going to be part of the conversation as we move forward today. But, talking about the lies and talking about what Kamala Harris and the Democrats are going to be doing for the next several months as they talk about Donald Trump. She's lying about Donald Trump's record on abortion. The former president, all he did, as you know, and I'm not going to go on and on about this, because it's almost like we all know what Donald Trump's position on abortion is. It goes right back down, and it did go back to the states, and that is where it belongs. And the president is for, like Ronald Reagan, he always says he is okay with the exceptions. And so that's what the president's record is on abortion. The former president's record is on abortion. Now, part of the news cycle today, you're going to see some polling that shows that Kamala is gaining on Donald Trump. As I said to you yesterday, this is so predictable. But the more that the American people find out about Kamala Harris, the more people will understand that she is certainly not qualified to be president of the United States. Now, J.D. Vance, and we're going to get through all of this in today's radio broadcast. By the way, you can always check us out online, 997WTN.com. If you want to watch the radio show, you can on Facebook and at YouTube as well. And if you want to stream the show, we are literally everywhere. J.D. Vance is out on the campaign trail, and he is joining Republicans in calling out Kamala Harris.
Now, history will remember Joe Biden as not just a quitter, which he is, but one of the worst presidents in the United States of America. But my friends, Kamala Harris is a million times worse, and everybody knows it.
All right, so Kamala was in Wisconsin, and you did hear the cheers and the excitement. And as I said yesterday, the thing about Kamala is that she's not Joe Biden. Remember that the Democrats, they have been absolutely engaged in anyone but Joe. ABJ, anyone but Biden. And so for the Democrats, that's part of the reason why they're so excited about Kamala Harris. But when you look at where America is today, the fingerprints of Kamala Harris, they're all over America's failures, from your bank account to your border. And when we look at the numbers over the past several years, it is going to be impossible to get rid of all of the illegal aliens that have come across our southern border on Biden and Kamala's watch. And so even if we do, as Donald Trump says, even if we do have the greatest deportation program in American history, how in the world are we ever going to cope?
My sister's death was preventable. The monster arrested for killing Rachel entered the U.S. unlawfully after killing a woman in El Salvador.
This is the brother of Rachel Marin. Of course, you remember she is the Maryland mother of 5 who was killed by a Biden-Harris illegal alien.
Joe Biden and his designated border czar, Kamala Harris, opened our borders to him and others like him, empowering them to victimize the innocent. Yet, to this day, we have not heard from Joe Biden or Kamala Harris.
You know, that was at the RNC. When you apply for a job, they always ask you, you've got your resume, right? And you apply for a job, and they always ask you, okay, so how'd you do at your last job? How do you think Kamala Harris answers that question? Again, the two big issues, the economy and immigration. How does she possibly answer this job? Now, again, remember the RNC, where we had those impacted by the border issues. They come up, they tell America their experiences. And listen, friends, we could do that all day long. But as the Biden-appointed border czar, she had to be cajoled into actually going to the border. Now, remember when she told Lester Holt, well, she'll get to the border someday.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
I mean, all of the cringeworthy comments from Kamala Harris, we all have to just sort of be reminded of those comments.
Yeah.
And so those comments clearly didn't age well. And so now here we are in the midst of all of this. Americans being killed, cities are being overrun, valuable resources going to these illegal aliens, and the American people watching all of this and wondering what in the world is happening to our country.
Why not visit the border? Why not see what Americans are seeing in this crisis?
Well, we are going to the border. We have to deal with what's happening at the border. There's no question about that. That's not a debatable point. But we have to understand that there's a reason people are arriving at our border.
Yeah, because it's open.
Exactly.
It's not that hard.
You invited them in with freebies.
So Raul Ortiz, of course, everybody knows he is the former border chief. He was on with Neil Cavuto, and it is imperative, obviously, that we get Kamala and Joe Biden, the two of them, out of office. Because as we head towards November 5th, we'll find out more about the consequences of the Biden-Harris administration. Remember, Kamala Harris, she kept saying over and over and over again that Joe Biden was okay. That's number one. And number two, that the border was secure. And so I want you to think about all of the lies that she has been telling when she talks about how, yes, the border
is secure.
The border is secure. Of course, we all know that it was not secure. She wasn't telling the truth then. She's not telling the truth now. And so Raul Ortiz, he was the chief of the Border Patrol a while back under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And so last week during the DNC, he was on with Neil Cavuto.
I left about a year ago, and I can tell you that the border was very chaotic when I left back in June. And right now, they've already seen 1,400,000 apprehensions. Plus, they've flown about 500,000 individuals through the commercial airlines. So there's still roughly 2 million people that have come across that border.
So again, as Donald Trump says, he's going to have the greatest deportation program in history. That's all fine. And I understand that, and I appreciate that, especially starting with the criminals. But here's the thing. The problem that Republicans have and conservatives have and Americans have is that there's no real way realistically to round these folks up. And that's not Donald Trump's fault. That's the fault of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Got a lot more straight ahead. 6:16, time to check the roads on WTN. Thank you, Jack. Rain today and a high of 79. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 at WTN. Talking about Kamala Harris and her resume, because when you apply for a job, you've got to give them the old resume. And so when you apply for a job and they say, how did you do at the last job? Well, you've got the bullet points of your accomplishments. I got to tell you, Kamala Harris will have no problem keeping her resume down to one page because she doesn't have a lot of accomplishments. So talking about the border in this segment, I don't want to badger you with a bunch of numbers this morning. I don't need to because you know the story. Millions crossing our border with no actual pushback. Border Patrol was overwhelmed. Biden and Harris flew these folks directly into our country, and fentanyl continued to flow into our country, killing Americans, and nobody did anything about it, including Kamala Harris.
Yeah, most definitely. You think about, over 2,100 pounds of fentanyl already seized this year by the Border Patrol, 15,000 pounds by CBP as a whole. So the cartels are benefiting both from the illegal migration and the drugs that are being smuggled across that border right now.
Yeah, so you put all of that together, and there is gross incompetence, clearly. Now, Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles had him on yesterday, and he has now actually filed articles of impeachment against Kamala Harris, saying she's committed high crimes and misdemeanors through her incompetence as borders are. Ogles, by the way, is going to join Chris Hand later this morning at 11:06 to talk about that specifically. But the bottom line is, as J.D. Vance states, she lied about the border and the president's ability to serve.
She signed up for every single one of Joe Biden's failures, and she lied about his mental capacity to serve as president.
True. By the way, can I ask this question? And it's an awkward question. So one of the biggest questions I get asked about all the time, this is going to be a little dicey, but people always ask me, how'd you get into radio? So when somebody asks Kamala Harris, how'd you get into politics? You think she's going to talk about having an affair with a married man, Willie Brown, in San Francisco, because he's the one that got her into politics and that whole sordid sleeping with a married man affair kind of a thing? I mean, listen, I know it's spicy. But you know what? Some conservatives are speaking out and saying, listen, if we have to listen to every single sordid detail of this supposed affair between Donald Trump and the porn star, Stormy Daniels, well, then isn't how Kamala Harris got into politics, sleeping and having a sordid affair with the mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, that whole sordid story? Shouldn't that also be up for discussion? I mean, think about it. What's good for them has got to be good for us too, right? So when we talk about, well, how'd you get into politics? Anybody want to talk about that? So embedded within these articles of impeachment is the articles of impeachment that Andy Ogles is submitting, is the demand that the 25th Amendment be invoked to remove Joe Biden from office.
Our country has been saddled for 3.5 years with a president who cannot do the job.
Right.
And that is all because Kamala Harris and the rest of the Democrats lied about his ability to be our president. I think we're going to kick them all out come November and replace them with some people who care about this country.
I mean, totally agree. Totally agree. Now, what you're going to hear in the news over the next couple of days is how Kamala Harris is doing better in the polling. We are going to get into that. I believe that the reason why she's doing better in the polling is because she is the shiny new object. And so everybody is, excited on the left about Kamala Harris. And, once people begin to realize that she is as directly responsible for, the failings of the Biden administration as Joe Biden is, then I believe that the polling will reset. Also, there's other polling, by the way, out there that shows that Donald Trump is going to be just fine. I don't think that we'll actually have polling that tells us, really what the mindset of the American people is until a few days out, probably next week. We'll get some true polling out there that will be more indicative as to the temperature of the American people. But as I said yesterday, yes, Kamala Harris is going to be a more formidable opponent for Donald Trump than Joe Biden, simply because she can string together a couple of sentences. 522 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7, and News with Ken Weaver is coming up. Things are getting crazier by the day here in America. The crazier things get, the more sense it makes to call my friends at My Patriot Supply. Now, here's the deal. The left does want to take away your freedoms. They do want to take away your rights. You need to protect yourself and your family because it is that self-reliance that they simply cannot take away. And that's where My Patriot Supply does come in. Emergency food is part of that self-reliance. And that's how I can help at my website, preparewithmandis.com, and my partners at My Patriot Supply. Now, they are the most trusted name in survival. Go to my website at preparewithmandis.com and get your water filtration system, your charged solar generator, and yes, your emergency food. Go to preparewithmandis.com right now, a great deal. You're going to save $200 on their best-selling 3-month emergency food kit, $200 off per kit, and they're going to throw in free shipping as well. Now, these food kits deliver over 2,000 calories per day, sealed inside practically unpierceable packaging, and yes, it does last up to 25 years. Go to preparewithmandis.com. You're going to save $200 per kit. Free shipping is included. That's preparewithmandis.com. preparewithmandis.com. 523 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken Weaver, what's coming up at 5:30?
President Biden preparing an Oval Office address of the nation. Kamala Harris polling since her boss endorsed her. Republicans warning America not to be fooled by her rebranding. New details about the shooting of State Trooper Adam Cothran, and State Rep Justin Jones plans to hold a news conference on those hate groups today at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. I'm seeing an issue there on 65 heading downtown from north of downtown, right there at Dickerson Pike. Looks like police have the right 2 lanes and the on-ramp blocked. 65 right before the 24 split. And election 2024, President Biden addressing the nation tonight at 7 o'clock Middle Tennessee time about his decision to drop out of the race and endorse Vice President Harris. Hear it live on air and online right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Lionel Moise reports from the campaign trail.
The crowd of thousands bigger than any Biden campaign event this election cycle.
There's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement for Kamala. She's obviously raising a ton of money.
First of all, she can take down Trump in a heartbeat. She can eviscerate him with her words.
A source tells ABC News Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and Arizona Senator Mark Kelly are the leading candidates.
Well, Republicans say Americans will not be fooled by this rebranding of Harris since Biden quit the race.
There's no way to dress this up. Kamala Harris has a long record in public service, and she cannot point to a single thing. I don't think a single thing that she has done successfully.
Speaker Mike Johnson, and new polling since Biden endorsed Harris shows respondents trust former President Trump more with the key issues: inflation, economy, and illegal immigration. By the way, the former president speaks at a rally in Charlotte tonight. Here in Tennessee, we know more details about the shooting of Trooper Adam Cothran.
This attack on Trooper Cothran was unprovoked and could have merely ended in a traffic citation.
But he's still hospitalized, facing a long recovery. Meanwhile, the suspects, Braze Rucker and Timothy Davis, are convicted felons who were released from prison early. And Channel 4 says Nashville State Rep Justin Jones will hold a press conference later this morning. He will have with him the 2 boys targeted by hate groups with racial slurs downtown over the weekend. Justin Jones says he's demanding action after he says Metro Police told those boys to leave and then let them walk home alone. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 532, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here. I want to tell you about my friends at DT McCall's. Listen, if you need anything for your house, go to my place, DT McCall's. Now, they've been doing business with Middle Tennesseans for 100 years. Generational growth, because they do it all at DT McCall's. Great value, outstanding merchandise, and great customer service as well. Now, I bought my oven there a while ago. It was easy. I went to dtmccalls.com. I found exactly what I needed at the price I wanted to pay, and they also deliver for free and haul away the old stuff. Now, this is a great American company, DT McCall's, a great Tennessee company that has indoor and outdoor furniture, appliances, kitchen appliances, and all the best brands. Financing options are also fair and reasonable. They do know that times are tough right now, so they are going to do what they can to give you every opportunity to get what you need. They've got 5 locations across Middle Tennessee: Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin. Always online, dtmccalls.com. 7, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the Gang of Three Amigos, brought to you by My Patient Supply. Am I on? Why can't I hear myself?
You're on.
Am I on?
I can hear you, Brother Dan.
We all hear you.
I wish you wouldn't use that kind of language, but yes, we can hear you.
Check, 1. Oh, there I am. Brought to you by My Patient Supply, preparewithmandis.com. You know what I think it is?
What do you think it is, Brother
It's
Dan?
a stupid red thing on the microphone. That's what it
where'd
is.
you get that?
Was that Murphy, I think Murphy Show used for folks listening on the radio, there's this spongy thing on our microphone.
Yeah.
And because this is a shared microphone, all of us use it. Some of us don't like to use it because it's germ-ridden.
Well, I was getting ready to say, is everybody using the same sponge?
Yes, they are.
You might want to put some sanitizer on your hands.
No, engineering doesn't like us to do that.
No, on your hands.
Oh, on my hand. Well, it's too late now.
Oh,
don't wipe your eyes.
I've already infected the entire room now because I took it off and now I'm touching the desk and I'd have to fumigate the entire room.
Yeah.
Anyway, how's everyone doing this morning?
Doing good, Brother Dan. Good thing we still have a big old jug of COVID juice back there in the break room.
Boy, you're not kidding.
COVID juice? What are you talking about?
Remember the big jug? The big jugs of sanitizer laying around the building?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Well, there's one that's about 3/4 full there in the break room.
Hey, you know who we're going to talk to at 7:35 this morning?
Who?
Lieutenant Dan.
All right.
Gary Sinise.
Excellent.
You know who I'm going to meet on Saturday? No, Sunday. You know who I'm going to meet on Sunday?
Who?
Lieutenant Dan.
You're going to meet Gary Sinise.
Unless they see me first, and then I probably won't. They'll get security.
I thought he'd be coming out to the Mandis homestead.
No. Go swimming in my 5-foot pool.
Yeah.
Get in the hot tub with me. No.
Yeah, sure.
No, he's the Lieutenant Dan Band is playing the Grand Ole Opry.
All right.
And it's 30 years since Forrest Gump.
Wow.
And
really?
so, 30 years.
Good.
So
grief.
Michael T. Williamson, who played Bubba Gump guy.
Yes.
He's going to be there.
Awesome.
And the director of Forrest Gump is going to be there. And, of course, Gary Sinise is going to be there. And they're going to do a Q&A. Lieutenant Dan Band is going to play the music of Forrest Gump. And I think the Gatlin brothers are playing there as well.
All right.
That'll be a great show.
Star-studded affair.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because I'm going to be there. Hello.
And Dan Mandis will be making a special appearance.
Yes, sir.
Totally kidding. So I can't wait. I have not yet been to the Grand Ole Opry. How is that possible?
Dan,
not either.
I have lived here how long? I've never been to the Opry.
How is that possible? You're Johnny B.
And I've asked to go, and then people will go, yeah, sure. We'll say, yep, and then nothing.
You want me to see if I can get you tickets to this shindig?
When is it?
Sunday night.
Sunday night? Probably not. Sunday night's tie nighty winky time.
Let me tell you something.
Right about 4 o'clock.
Yes.
In the afternoon.
You might want to listen Monday morning at 5 because it's going to be a train wreck because I'm going to be going on very little sleep.
Well, you are.
But I do. I get to meet Gary Sinise,
Cool.
and his band is really good.
They are good.
And I finally get to go to the Grand Ole Opry and all that kind of stuff. And
I'm sure he's still building homes for veterans.
well, he just did build a home for a veteran in Nolensville this year.
Yep.
Wow.
So we're going to talk to him at 7:35. Looking forward to it.
All right.
Glad he moved here.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And the entire foundation moved here as well. So, oftentimes, and this applies to many different things, oftentimes we hear about polling. And we say, oh, that's a bunch of BS. There's absolutely no way that that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, putting politics aside, Chick-fil-A is no longer the number one fast food outfit in America. It's now Del Taco. Did you read that?
No.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A for a long time has been considered by polling to be the number one fast food outfit in America, the fast food restaurant in America. Del Taco has now usurped Chick-fil-A, and now Del Taco is number one. Now, I don't understand that because Del Taco isn't even nationwide.
No.
So I don't really understand how that's possible. Now, I will tell you, though, that I am, if given the choice between living across the street from a Del Taco or a Chick-fil-A, I hate to tell you, friends, but I would choose Del Taco. And I love Chick-fil-A. but Del Taco is tops on my list, has been for a long time. Of course, In-N-Out is not even part of the conversation, but whatever.
Yeah. By the way, that's not an In-N-Out that went in Murfreesboro that everybody thought was going to be an In-N-Out.
No.
It looks just like it. But it's not an In-N-Out.
What's it going to be?
I can't remember. Something else.
So it's kind of like McDowell's on Coming to America.
Thank you, baby. Everybody driving by thought, well, it looks like we're getting an In-N-Out. Nope, it's something else.
Have you guys
But
ever...
I'm sure it's fine.
It's an out and in.
Have you guys ever had Del Taco?
No.
I can't say that I have.
All right.
But I'm not sure because I have spent lots of time in the great state of Texas, and I think there's a lot of Del Tacos in Texas.
I don't remember. There's Taco Bueno in Texas. Anyway,
they had that in Tulsa.
Yes, they do.
Taco Bueno, man.
I like Taco Bueno.
I've told my story about Taco Bueno. When I was moving from one place to another, and I don't even remember where I was moving from or to or whatever.
Yeah.
I drove 3 hours out of my way to go hit up a Taco Bueno in Nebraska.
Yes, sir.
I drove to like Lincoln, Nebraska to have Del Taco.
Yeah, Mexi dips and
Taco
chips.
Taco Bueno. Yeah, and the chips and everything else. And oh my goodness gracious.
And how the dip comes in cups that are actually chips.
Yep.
I mean, it's brilliant.
Do you know that my ex-wife,
you can eat the bowl.
She would drag the family from when we lived in New York. She would drag the family all the way to Rhode Island to get Chinese food.
Wow.
It was nuts. But you know
that must
what?
have been a good place.
I was thinking, are we really going to do this? We're going to go from New York to Rhode Island to get Chinese food. And she said, yes, we are.
Wow.
Listen, who am I to argue? And you know what? The Rhode Island Chinese food was absolutely incredible.
So it was worth it.
It was worth it.
Worth the drive.
Although all those hours with screaming kids in the car, you know.
Yes, sir.
The great thing, though, is that, you know, after they had the Chinese food, they fell asleep on the way home. But then they woke up hungry, so I don't know.
Oh, wonderful.
Do you guys get that whole comedy that I just threw down?
That was some...
Chinese food, put you to sleep, then they woke up hungry just a little bit later?
Yeah. Very good.
All right, Johnny, what do you got?
That's gold, Dan.
The heck was it to you, man? Johnny, what do you got?
That's comedy gold, Dan. This comes from...
by the way, that I just had a moment that Chuck Schumer had. Where, did you guys see, and then I'll let you finish, Johnny, I'm sorry. But
I did not see that,
Did you
Dan.
see Chuck Schumer yesterday where, I'll have to find the audio.
Do you have his glasses on his nose?
He basically, Chuck Schumer excitedly says, we are endorsing Kamala Harris, and nobody clapped. And he clapped, and then nobody else clapped, and he says, oh, clap for all of us, or something like that. It was actually really funny.
You got to play that.
Oh,
dude.
definitely.
I'm finding it. You go ahead, John, and then I'll find it.
All right. Well, this comes from NBC News, so take this with a grain of salt. But I kind of find this could be believable. But they say that the Gen Z children of the immigrants coming to or that are in America right now, and this probably includes the illegal immigrants, but the Gen Z children of these immigrants are choosing to give up on the American dream. They're leaving. They're going to different countries. And they say the reason for this is what they call the doomism that's being basically just broadcast constantly in the United States of America. They say the cost of health care, rent, along with the chaotic political system, which like they didn't come from one.
Yep.
They say basically this is why these children are leaving the American dream behind to live elsewhere. And I tend to believe this.
Doomism.
That's what they call it, doomism.
That is what it feels like.
It does. Well, I mean, when you watch the news, what do you see? It's constant gloom and doom.
Well, and here's the thing. People often say, well, I can't watch the news because it's all doom and gloom. Well, welcome to life in America.
Yes.
You know, where crap's expensive and, you know, crime is up and illegal immigration and the rest of it. So, yeah, I can understand why they're leaving. Does it say where they're going? Like,
it doesn't really point. Costa Rica, I guess, is one location where a lot of people are going because they think it's cheaper.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Where would you rather live, like Philadelphia or Costa Rica?
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
We agree. All right, this is...
Well, it's warmer there. They don't have any snow.
All right, so this is Chuck Schumer And they say that he just had a Jeb Bush moment.
So now that the process is played out, from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
Oh my gosh!
And you know what the funny thing is when you watch the video, is he's got his fist and he's like very excited, like we're gonna endorse Kamala Harris, and then it's like I'll clap for all of us.
That's way to go, Chucky.
But that was underwhelming, Chuck.
Boy, that sure was. Let me play it one more time.
So now that the process is played out, from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
Wow. I bet it's amazing.
What he means there is now that Obama and George Clooney say it's okay.
Yeah. Obama and George Clooney.
It is so weird.
Now that the grassroots effort is in place.
Grassroots.
Yes.
That's funny.
Oh, there's some questions about, I don't know if I'm going to get to it today, but there's some questions about all of the small dollar donations that they're talking about, because they think that actually what the Democrats did is they had these massive $1 million donations and they somehow are able to convert those to look like they're small dollar donations. So I'll try to get to that today at some point. But the thing is that a lot of this excitement is being manufactured. It's like we talked about yesterday. Is you have all of these media outlets and the Democrats, and it is a full court press, man. It is. By the way, you were talking about polling, Ken.
Yeah.
So just a word of warning to folks is that like every day we're going to be hit with new polling.
Oh, yes.
And it is going to be like literally changing by the day.
Yep.
So I don't know, but can you, I heard that it was positive Trump polling.
Yes. Yeah.
Americans trust Trump with the issues.
Yeah, this is from a YouGov poll that was taken after Biden endorsed Vice President Harris to run instead of him. And the majority of respondents said they trust Trump more on the key issues, which, according to YouGov, are the key issues, too. They agree with Americans. Inflation, economy, and immigration. And it is, they only 29% said they trusted Harris with it, while 43% said they trusted Trump with it.
Do you guys get and this is where I'm going with this, do you guys get poll overload?
Yes.
Like I get poll overload because you go to Drudge and, they'll have polling and the big font about how, there's a shocking new poll that, Donald Trump is not going to like. And it's like, one state where Harris is beating Trump by 1 or 2 points. And so every day there's more polling, and the more polling there is, the more contradictory they can be.
Yes.
And a lot of this is up to interpretation. And really, the only poll that counts is on November 5th, and that's why
and the battleground states.
And the battleground states, and, of course, early voting as well. So you look at some of the polling, and, I mean, people are freaking out about this. The American people, half of them don't even know who Kamala Harris is.
No.
I was talking to some of my family members when we went out. I got to be careful. I was talking to some family members of the younger generation over when I was out there in North Carolina. Some of my family members, they don't even know who Kamala Harris is.
Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not. And there, I mean, there's probably what do you think the percentage is of the American people who actually knew who the vice president was before Joe Biden endorsed her for president and dropped out? 50%, maybe?
Maybe.
I wonder if there's a stat out there. How many Americans know who the vice president is?
This should be interesting.
Yeah.
George Clooney.
George Clooney, fellow with a big boat.
Let's see here. Well, there's an ABC News poll. No more than 40% of Americans cannot name VP candidates. 41%. This is the the Daily Trojan? I must be out of USC.
Well,
moving right along.
That's a happy man.
I don't know, man.
Must be from the Clinton Foundation.
Anyway, back in 2010, poll shows 41% of Americans cannot name the U.S. vice president. Whatever. I'm moving right along.
Yes, sir.
People chiming in on the super text line.
What are they saying, Brother Dan?
What the hell is a Del Taco?
It's a place to eat.
Yeah, it is a good place, apparently.
Good place.
They say Del Taco puts Taco Bell to shame. Totally agree.
I think about it. I'm not a big Taco Bell fan.
No.
I like Taco Bell.
I used to.
I give them my money.
No.
Of course, they're the closest fast food taco joint next to me.
Right next door to you.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? The great thing about Taco Bell is most folks can indeed afford Taco Bell.
That's the truth.
Another guy says he's going to retire to Vietnam because you can live for $1,200 a month.
Wow.
Actually, in Vietnam, $1,200 a month. I mean, that is, you can buy a mansion in Vietnam for $1,200 a month.
Wow.
I couldn't do it, though. I couldn't do it.
You shouldn't say good morning. Good morning, Vietnam.
Live in Vietnam? No.
No.
Do you guys have a list very, very quickly? Do you guys have a list of states you would never live in?
Yeah.
Like, do you have a state?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I have several.
We'll talk about that at 8:35.
All right.
Because I cannot run late.
No.
5:54 at Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here. I use Zero Res to clean my carpets, and you should too. Now, I've got dogs and kids and a big backyard full of dirt that does get tracked into the house all the time. So it actually feels like I'm calling them literally every few months. Now, you know with Zero Res, they clean with powered water. There's no harsh chemicals, no soap, and no residue, just soft and fluffy carpets that are going to stay clean longer. And right now, they've got a great offer just for listeners to my show. 3 rooms of carpets clean for only $99, 20% off of air duct cleaning as well. When you use promo code DUCT20. It is back to school time. Get back to clean carpets with Zero Res. They've got thousands of Google and Facebook reviews, and of course, my review. Zero Res gets 2 thumbs up from my house. Now, don't forget that great deal. 3 rooms of carpets clean for only $99, 20% off of air duct cleaning when you use promo code DUCT20. Restrictions may apply. Call now, 615-535-9376. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out for that discount. 615-535-9376. Online, ZeroResNashville.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Six o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We're going to tell you more about showers and thunderstorms and the timeline during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. But right now, let's get to election 2024. President Biden will address the nation tonight from the Oval Office, scheduled for 7 o'clock Middle Tennessee time. Going to tell us about his decision to drop out of the race and endorse Vice President Harris. Hear it live, on air and online, right here, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Meanwhile, Mary Bruce covering the campaign trail for Harris and Trump.
Harris leaning into the kitchen table issues on the minds of so many voters.
Building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Trump has been off the trail since Saturday. On a call with reporters this afternoon, he went on the attack.
She's the same as Biden, but much more radical.
But he did say he's willing to debate her.
And Republicans say Americans are not going to be fooled by this rebranding of Harris since Biden quit the race.
Crises owned by Kamala Harris, co-owned. The border crisis, the inflation crisis, the crime crisis, everything happening with the economy, our national security, weakness on the world stage. She is a equal partner in all of that. So she can't run from it. She has to run on it. And we will ensure that the American people know the facts.
Speaker Mike Johnson. And polling since Biden quit and endorsed Harris still showing more Americans trust former President Trump on the hot-button issues, inflation, economy, and immigration. Here in Tennessee, Channel 4's Brendan Tierney reports on the new details about the criminal past of the suspects in Trooper Adam Cothran's shooting, Braze Rucker and Timothy Davis.
Trooper Cothran was flown to Vandy with the bullet barely missing his spine. His wife got emotional during the press conference, posting on Facebook that he should hopefully be able to walk again.
Senseless shooting of a very good man and a very good trooper.
Metro Police Chief John Drake says Davis was convicted in 2016 on second-degree murder charges and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Rucker was convicted in 2017 and sentenced to 14 years in prison for an aggravated assault.
It's inexplicable how this person can even have had the opportunity to do this.
Yeah, they didn't serve their full time. Market numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Here's Jim Ryan.
A two-day market rally ended yesterday with losses for the major stock indexes. The Dow Jones slipped 57 points Tuesday, but remained solidly above 40,000. The S&P gave up 0.16%. The Nasdaq closed down a fraction.
That's the latest news. Well, let's check futures first. Then we'll have the latest news. Futures right now ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street. Dow futures down 179, S&P off 38, Nasdaq off 210. Now that's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news.
6:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Welcome on into your Wednesday, July 24th, along with Johnny B, Ken Weaver, Dan Mandis here indeed. By the way, programming note, 7:35, I cannot wait to speak to Gary Sinise. He's going to be playing the Grand Ole Opry. His band is going to be playing at the Grand Ole Opry coming up this Sunday. We're going to talk about that with him. 30 years since the release of Forrest Gump. So we've got a lot to cover between now and 9 when Chris Hand will join us. And by the way, Chris has Andy Ogles, Congressman Andy Ogles on. You know, he was here with me yesterday. After he was on the air with me, big news today is the congressman filed articles of impeachment against Kamala Harris. And talking about the border, that's the justification, the incompetence on the border within the articles of impeachment. He also is demanding that she invoke the 25th Amendment so that Joe Biden can be taken out and politically, and Kamala Harris would be assumed the presidency. Now, here's the problem with that, and this is just, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but my worry is that if the 25th Amendment, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris gets in there, okay, well, now what happens if she actually does a halfway decent job for the Democrats? You don't want to give her that tryout. Everything that Americans know right now about Kamala Harris has been the failures, has been the cringeworthy comments. A lot of the things that she has said and a lot of the things that she has done. No, we're not going in this country from cringeworthy to cool, despite what Van Jones and others are trying to say. So I would say no, let Joe continue to fail for another 5 months. I mean, let's be honest, he hasn't really been doing the job for the last 3.5 years anyway. It's basically been the apparatus of the Democrat Party led by Barack Obama. So leave him in there. Do not give the American people a glimpse as to what life with Kamala could be like, although you and I would all agree, we would all agree that it would be disastrous. But the reality is that you don't want the American people to get used to the phrase President Kamala Harris. You just don't. Don't give her the opportunity to redeem herself. Let America wallow in her failures of illegal immigration and the wide open border. Let the American people, unfortunately, sadly, remember what 9.3% inflation was like. Again, don't give her the opportunity to redeem herself. Now, Joy Reid is out there, and the reason I'm playing this is because a lot of people are talking about this today, and that is that Joy Reid is making this all about race and the cultural phenomenon that is Kamala Harris.
Hey, fam. Okay, I just got to say it. Given the just stratospheric entrance of Vice President Kamala Harris into the presidential campaign.
Right.
And she has now secured enough delegates to become the nominee. You're going to look real crazy being on the other side of that line, particularly as a person of color, but really as anyone who claims to have any connection to the culture. You're going to look real weird and real lonely on that side. The door needs to close behind Amber.
All right, so that is Joy Reid, and talking about that last comment, talking about Amber Rose. And so a lot of the folks on the left are trying to make Kamala Harris into this, I'm going to air quote this now, friends, this cultural phenomenon that is Kamala Harris. Now, they're trying desperately to make that happen. Remember the theme of the show yesterday, the rebranding of Kamala Harris. But here's the thing. If the left is going to make this all about, and clearly they are, if the left is going to make this all about race, well, then why are they so upset when Congressman Tim Burchett called Kamala Harris a DEI vice president?
Biden said, first off, he said he's going to hire a black female for vice president, and that he just skipped over. What What about white females? What about any other group? It just, when you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president.
Are you suggesting she was a DEI hire?
100%. She was a DEI hire. He said he was going to hire, and then her record is abysmal at best.
I mean, that is Tim Burchett. And the hue and cry of the people on the left. Oh, how could you say this about the cultural phenomenon that is Kamala Harris? Isn't Tim Burchett right? Isn't the congressman right? I mean, here's the thing. If the media and Joy Reid and a lot of these other folks are going to constantly invoke race into the conversation, and President Joe Biden literally said that he was going to bring in a black female, and that is exactly what he did, then I don't particularly see why the congressman's comments to CNN are particularly heinous. I don't. Because when you invoke race into everything, they're ignoring the record of Harris-Biden or Biden-Harris. And that is exactly what Tim Burchett said. Tim Burchett, the congressman, is literally saying, look at the record. How has she done? How have we as a country done under the Biden-Harris administration? We're running a story today about polling. The American people by far trust Donald Trump with the issues that actually matter to America. And, I do believe that the Democrats know that. The Democrats and the media know that. It was just a few months ago, they were calling on Joe Biden essentially to dump Kamala Harris because she was dragging down Joe Biden. That's what they were trying to say. And of course, I was right there saying, no, Biden is dragging himself down. Certainly Kamala Harris isn't any help. But I'm just here to tell you that you need to be of the understanding of what is happening in the media with this rebranding. Again, you're going to see polling. Some of it is going to be very positive for the cultural phenomenon that is Kamala Harris. But remember, there's also a lot of polling that the media more than likely won't tell you about that is very positive for Donald Trump. I'll talk a little bit about that straight ahead at 6:15. Time to check the roads on Super Talk 99.7. Thank you, Jack. Rain today and a high of 79 degrees, 72 now at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So now that the process is played out, from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
That is, of course, Chuck Schumer in the Senate. Later on today, just a joke alert. I'm going to, later on in the broadcast, go ahead and edit some crickets into there as well. Didn't have time this morning, but look for that hilarity in the 7 o'clock hour. All right, so talking about Kamala Harris and some of the polling. Remember, part of what's going on here is that the media, some in the media, by and large, are completely ignoring the fact that she was integral in one of the biggest cover-ups in American political history when you talk about Joe Biden's health. One of the first things I said when I signed on it was Monday when I talked about how she has been lying to the American people all this time because Joe Biden's withdrawal from the race tells you that she has been lying. And the Friday after that Thursday debate, I said the same thing, That debate proved the cover-up. That debate proved that Joe Biden has no business running the country, let alone running for re-election. Big headline in the Daily Mail: the Biden healthcare cover-up is a scandal to match Watergate, warns Dan McLaughlin, while cackling Kamala with her White House co-conspirators keeps silent. And so they talk about what I will tell you is a massive, massive cover-up. Now, to the polling. General election, this is from Real Clear Politics. General election from NPR, Trump versus Harris. You've got Donald Trump up by 1, 46-45. As far as a general election, Trump versus Harris and Kennedy versus Stein and West and all of these other people, Donald Trump is up by 2. That first poll was NPR. The second poll was Yahoo News. There's a lot of polling out there, which is, again, why I'm not going to live in the polling. I'm just simply not going to. I'm going to look for trends. And right now, in Georgia, for example, this is out yesterday, July 23rd, in the all-important state of Georgia. Trump is up 48. Harris is at 47. Trump plus 1. In Georgia, when you throw everyone else in there, Trump is up plus 2. Presidential approval rating with Joe Biden. You've got 54% of the American people that disapprove of Joe Biden. And listen, when you look at the approval and disapproval of Joe Biden, you've got to throw Harris in there, don't you? Of course you do. And when 71% of the American people speak about the direction of the country and they say that our country is on the wrong track, well, then that tells you that a lot of this cultural phenomenon nonsense of Kamala Harris, a lot of this is being propped up by the media. And by the way, part of the conversation has got to be, number one, yes, Kamala Harris has been a running joke for 3.5 years. You simply cannot suddenly go from cringe to cool. You just can't. No matter how much Van Jones and the Republicans and Joy Reid and all of these other people are trying to sell that, they're not going to be able to do it. That's number one. But number two, the fact that the Democrat Party, you know what they had to do? Have you heard this? That they threatened Joe Biden with the 25th Amendment if he didn't drop out. And I think that's why the dropout was so incredibly quick, because word is, according to, reports, they say that the Democrats came to Joe Biden and they said, you need to drop out. And if you don't, we're going to invoke the 25th Amendment. Biden didn't want to be that first president to have to deal with the 25th Amendment on his mental acuity. He just didn't want to be that guy. So he immediately dropped out. Then he, in a separate press release, says that he is endorsing Kamala Harris. And here we are. But the polling, there's some polling that is out there that is pro-Trump, and there's some polling that is negative Trump. I'm going to tell you that this is now going to be a closer race, because Harris is a more formidable candidate. I'm just telling you that is true, because she can actually defend, not very well, but she's going to try to defend the policies of Joe Biden, and she can actually articulate the things that she wants to do in what would be her first term in office. And so we'll continue our coverage here. I love what Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, had to say, what he did say coming up after the news at 6:35 on Super Talk 89.7 at WTN. Dan Mandis here. By the way, the Super Text line is on fire today, 615-737-9986. Looking forward to reading your text throughout the morning. Listen, I hope you never have to call United Structural Systems, because that means that you don't have any issues with your foundations or your concrete. But if you do have problems like I did, you need United Structural Systems on your side. Now, this is the company that I turn to for all things foundation, concrete, and waterproofing as well. I just had them out to my house a couple of months ago to fix some problems. with my home. We saw those classic signs that we did have problems with our foundation. We saw cracks in my bricks. Now, you might end up with windows and doors that stick, maybe separating drywall. Bottom line, though, is that USS can fix any of these problems and a whole lot more. Now, they came out, they gave me an estimate that I thought was fair, then did the work quickly and professionally. Now, they've been helping folks here in Middle Tennessee for 30 years, and they're still here today, and they do a great job. We guarantee our best. Call USS, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855 for USS United Structural Systems. 623 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 and WTN. Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news?
Well, President Biden preparing for an Oval Office address to the nation tonight. Kamala Harris polling since her boss endorsed her. Republicans warning America's not fooled by her rebranding. New details about the shooting of State Trooper Adam Cothran, and State Rep Justin Jones plans to hold a news conference on all the hate groups coming to Nashville. That news conference later today. All the details at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
When hard times hit Americans, it takes great organizations and donations to help those impacted get the assistance they need. Today's Great American Moment features the Finish Strong Foundation. Now, they partner with the Shriners organization to help kids living with limb loss. And earlier this month at an event near Boston, CBS News reports that children of all ages were fitted with prosthetic legs designed for running, including 12-year-old Malia Schnick.
I'm so excited for this day. I've been telling everyone I run into, I'm getting my running legs this weekend. It means a lot to me. It means that now I can maybe run a little bit because I can't normally run in my regular prosthetics, so it kind of gives me a little bit more freedom.
To find out how you can help, check out finishstrongfoundation.com. Today's Great American Moment is brought to you by Dr. Kevin Mitchell and the Wellness Institute of Nashville. If you suffer from chronic back and neck pain, they can help you today with non-surgical spinal decompression. No pills, surgery, or injections, just therapy that is going to help you feel better fast. They can also help you with chronic knee pain as well. If you have pain, numbness, slipped discs, tingling, spinal stenosis, disc bulging, herniations, or discal tears, this is the perfect place for you. The Wellness Institute of Nashville, 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009. The website, painisbad.com.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We'll tell you all about the weather we're having. Off and on showers and thunderstorms and the timeline during the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Just saw where Salt Lake City is going to be hosting the 2034 Winter Olympics. Salt Lake must be a good place to hold Olympics. Election 2024. President Biden addressing the nation tonight at 7 o'clock Middle Tennessee time about his decision to drop out of the race and endorse Vice President Kamala Harris. Hear it live, on air and online on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Meanwhile, Karen Travers is covering the campaign trail.
Battleground, Wisconsin, her first rally since President Biden announced he was no longer running for re-election.
I pledge to you I will spend the coming weeks continuing to unite our party so that we are ready to win in November.
Republicans say Americans are not fooled by this rebranding of Harris since Biden quit.
Crises owned by Kamala Harris, co-owned. The border crisis, the inflation crisis, the crime crisis, everything happening with the economy, our national security, weakness on the world stage.
Speaker Mike Johnson's weekly press conference. Meanwhile, new polling since Biden endorsed Harris showing respondents trust former President Trump more with the key issues, inflation, economy, and illegal immigration. By the way, former President Trump speaking at a rally in Charlotte tonight. And here in Tennessee, we know more details about the shooting of Trooper Adam Cothran.
This attack on Trooper Cothran was unprovoked and could have merely ended in a traffic citation.
Yeah, apparently there was a taillight out during that traffic stop. Trooper Cothran still hospitalized, facing a long recovery. Meanwhile, we've learned the suspects, Braze Rucker and Timothy Davis, who are in custody, are convicted felons who were released early from their prison sentences. Channel 4 says Nashville State Rep Justin Jones will hold a press conference later this morning. He's going to have with him the two boys seen on video seemingly targeted by hate groups with racial slurs downtown over the weekend. Representative Jones says he's demanding action after he says Metro Police told the boys to leave and then let them walk home alone. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 632 on WTN. Dan Mandis here with a question for you. Listen, friends, if your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you're about to fall into a trap because you need to ask, because if you don't know, and then your roof is destroyed in a storm and you go to your insurance company, they may be deducting money for an older roof. They may not cover that entire replacement cost if you have an older roof. Now, this means that the insurance company is depreciating how much they pay for your roof claim. Older roof, they're going to pay you less, and that could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King & Associates Insurance will pay full replacement costs. And I'm going to repeat that. My friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement costs. So Whether you have a 20-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they do pay for it to be replaced, period. Now, it is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. Call them. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-329-8121. 615-329-8121. Get your royal review at tkinginsurance.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
.637 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Feels like I'm just blowing through all of this content. I'm not necessarily taking the time to breathe. Johnny, I would like you to take the phones off hold. I'd like to take some phone calls this morning if we possibly can.
Put them on there, Brother Dan Mandis.
Ken, I just made Johnny's day.
Yeah,
615-737-9986. And a couple of people took exception. And I want to know, I want to just take a temperature.
All right.
How you feeling, folks, about Kamala Harris, Donald Trump? You can call this political open lines. One of the things that I mentioned in the previous segment, I used the term formidable to describe Kamala Harris. What I mean by that is because people are saying, well, she's not a strong candidate, this, that, and the other. And, really, in my opinion, perhaps splitting hairs with the word formidable. But what I will say is this. I believe the American people, I have lost absolute faith in the American people. I have. And so when I use that term, what I mean is that I believe that the American people are very willing and they are able to be duped by the media and by the Democrats. And so for me, I'm trying to let you folks know that you've got to remain vigilant. You really do. You've got to remain vigilant because the Democrats, if they can get close enough, and I shared with you some of the polling, if they can get close enough, then that ballot harvesting and all the rest of that stuff that they do, then ultimately will take center stage. So we've got to get out. We've got to early vote. We've got to do all of those things because despite the fact that you and I and a lot of people that are listening, we don't like Kamala Harris. We don't think that she was a good vice president. We don't believe that Joe Biden is a good president. We understand that there was a massive cover-up. We understand that there were lies that were told. We understand that despite the fact that the Democrats say that we as conservatives are a threat to democracy, they are the ones that clearly staged a coup against President Biden. And that is obvious. And so as we talk about things that are going on in America today, we just do have to be vigilant. 615-737-9986 if you want to call and give your 2 cents. The other thing that I said this morning is there's some conservatives that are asking the question, and I believe that it is a good question regarding Kamala Harris and how she got her start in politics. Now, a lot of you folks know the story, and I'm just going to tell it. I'm going to tell the story. And the reason why I'm telling the story is because how often have we heard the story of Donald Trump and the porn star Stormy Daniels? And so if that is up for discussion, if that is up for constant debate by the left, then you know what? How Kamala Harris got her start in politics, where she was sleeping with a married man, the mayor of San Francisco, who helped her get into politics, got her involved with donors, and if I remember right, appointed her to some commissions and that kind of a thing. Is that not fair game? I don't want to hear Kamala Harris one time invoke the character of Donald Trump because of how she got her start in politics. 615-737-9986. Don is on WTN. Don, thanks for calling in. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Dan. How are you?
I'm good. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, you're not going to say 2 thumbs up. All right.
You know what's so funny, Don? You know what's so funny is you asked me that question, and I thought, should I go ahead and give people the ammunition to, mock me incessantly for saying 2 thumbs up? Because that's what happened last time. So, he was trying. You see that, Ken? Don is trying to bait me. Anyway, go ahead, Don.
Brother Dan.
See, I gave Don the whole head fake. Anyway, go ahead, Don.
Good job. Good job. I don't think people are fooled one bit. And when you take time to think about Biden, well, Biden really, was he really nominated by the Democrats? It wasn't until the South Carolina primary and it was the black vote. I can't remember the guy's name that pushed him over the top. Otherwise, he was in 3rd or 4th place when it was all said and done.
Right.
Kamala barely got 1% of the Democratic vote. People aren't stupid, Dan. Now, I will say this for the Democrats, I noticed this morning when I woke up, one of my liberal friends hadn't seen her for months on Facebook, and now all of a sudden she's got this get out the vote. So they are mobilizing their people.
Right.
And I think when it's all said and done, sorry about the dog, we just got to keep the course, stay vigilant, and people aren't going to forget the fact that she didn't get one vote to become the presidential nominee.
Well, you're right, Don, and I will say this, and I thank you for the call. And you're right about James Clyburn, the South Carolina congressman. He gave his approval of Joe Biden, and that really did lead him to the presidency. But here's the thing, and Don said, and I respectfully, I believe, disagree with Don when he says the American people are not going to be fooled. I've lost faith in the American people. I'm just going to tell you. I love America. I, by and large, love the American people, but I've also lost faith in them because you sometimes see how, like lemmings, they fall for the tricks of the mainstream media. They really do. Now, we'll have to see what happens, but, you got roughly half of the American people who are blinded by, partisanship, and they can't understand why it is that, the other half of of America don't like Joe Biden. They just can't understand. Well, now we have a situation where, as Ken has been reporting, by and large, the American people trust Donald Trump with the issues of the day than Kamala Harris. Now, again, we're going to have to see if this attempted rebranding of Kamala Harris fools the American people. Don doesn't believe the American people will be fooled. I'm a little more cynical on that. I think that for the conservatives and the Republican Party, it is up to us to get our butts out there and early vote and convince our friends and neighbors that Donald Trump is going to be better for the country than Kamala Harris. One guy who absolutely agrees with that is House Speaker Mike Johnson. And he had a great little speech yesterday. I'm going to play parts of that and a whole lot more. Your phone calls welcome as well. 615-737-9986. 645, time to check the roads. Thank you very much. 645 Super Talk 99.7. Rain today and a high of 79. Right now 72 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. House Speaker Mike Johnson took to the podium yesterday.
Just over 100 days before an election, Democrat Party bosses forced Joe Biden off the ballot. They invalidated the votes of more than 14 million Americans who went through the small d democratic process and chose their nominee for president.
See, and what angers me about that is that, and I know that for some of you this is well-worn territory, but a lot of new people are jumping in. But what angers me about that is that the Democrat Party, they absolutely knew that Joe Biden was having difficulties cognitively. They knew. Yet they pushed him in the primary. They wouldn't allow him to debate anyone in the primary. RFK Jr. wanted to debate. And what did they do? They sued to get him, RFK Jr., off the ballots in many, many, many states, thereby really forcing the Democrat Party to vote for Joe Biden, knowing that he was impaired, only to later threaten him with the 25th Amendment so that he would drop out so that they could install Kamala Harris. I mean, that is exactly what happened. You want to talk about a threat to democracy? My friends, that is absolutely a threat to democracy. That is breaking democracy.
The self-proclaimed party of democracy can't claim to be that anymore because they just steamrolled democracy and made a decision in a back room. And one thing is clear. If Joe Biden is not fit to run for president, he is not fit to run the country. We're stating the obvious. We're stating what everybody is seeing with their own eyes. And it's a hard truth, but it's one that the country has to face.
Well, absolutely, the country has to face that. That's number one. Number two is Andy Ogles, Congressman Andy Ogles from right here in Middle Tennessee, 5th Congressional District. He has now submitted articles of impeachment on Kamala Harris for the border and incompetence on the border. Within the articles of impeachment is a demand that she invoke the 25th Amendment on Joe Biden. Congressman Ogles will join Chris Hand later this morning at 11:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dana is in Shelbyville on WTN. Hi, Dana.
Good morning, Dan. I equally have been frustrated over the past couple of years with American people that seem to be blinded, but I truly believe we've had some major turning points this year that have really moved the pen, and I think they're getting their eyes open. And this drip that we've had for a little while is flowing fast now. And so if people will just pay attention and just use reasoning, they will see clearly what's been done on that side. And I would not want to be a part of that for nothing. And I think that the left it's far left. There's no more moderate anymore. And that's what the struggle is, I'm sure, for a lot of Democrats. But even in my own home with some of the family that has been Democrats, I think they're seeing things, and I'm thankful for that.
What's crazy, Dana, thank you for the call. What's crazy is that on The View yesterday and all across the media, they are trying to present Kamala Harris as a moderate, which clearly, if anyone knows her record, and we'll continue to go over it, she is clearly a liberal. Here's more from Mike Johnson.
Right now, we're facing altogether increased threats around the globe because of this weakness. We're facing threats right here at home, and we're sending the world a dangerous message. America needs strong, resolute leadership at this perilous moment. Joe Biden is not providing that. Kamala Harris is incapable of providing that, and we need to get November 5 here as quickly as possible.
How sad is it that Benjamin Netanyahu shows up in Washington, D.C. yesterday, and neither Joe Biden nor Kamala Harris is there to meet him? How sad is that? What message does that send Iran? What message does that send Russia? What message does that send North Korea and China and all of our enemies? Joe Biden is frankly nowhere to be found. Kamala Harris felt like it was more important to, go off and campaign. And so Donald Trump filled the void and said, hey, Benjamin Netanyahu is going to come down and see me in Florida. Mm-hmm. But how sad is that? What does that say about the priorities of the Biden-Harris administration?
I'll tell you what their priorities are. Making the squad happy.
Oh, that's absolutely right, Ken. That is absolutely right.
She has 8 of the 9 so-called squad members in her corner, except Rashida Tlaib. So maybe she's trying to get that 9th member there behind her.
I wonder what Rashida Tlaib is holding out for.
Probably not meeting with Bibi.
We'll see. There might be an announcement today from Rashida Tlaib. I'm sure that we're all on the edge of our seats. Thank you, Ken. 6:50, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here. How would you like to be free of car loan debt, credit card debt, no personal loans? My friends at Loan Pronto can make that happen with an Equity Express line of credit. Now, you can tap into that equity in your home today and save you money on those high-interest loans. Now, homeowners are turning those home equity into cash almost instantly these days with Loan Pronto's AI-based system. It only takes about 10 minutes. It is really easy. There's no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. Just relief from those high-interest payments. So call them right now to get started. That phone number is 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780. You can always find Loan Pronto online. It's loanpronto.com. Loanpronto.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval. 6:52 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, Ken, what's coming up in the news at 7?
Well, President Biden addresses the nation tonight from the Oval Office. We have a report from the campaign trail where Vice President Harris went to Milwaukee yesterday, but Republicans say Americans aren't fooled by this rebranding of Harris. And then we've learned some new details about the criminal past of the suspects in Trooper Adam Cothran's shooting. You got to hear coming up at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com. .656, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, Johnny, kill the music. I want to play something.
All right.
All right.
Forrest, I never thanked you for saving my life.
It ain't me. It ain't me. Gary Sinise is going to be here at 7:35. That's my low-quality production that I'm going to use to introduce him. Should I not do that?
Oh, that is cool, man.
Well, you like that?
I love that.
Did you like that, Ken?
Yeah, I love Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Well, they're going to play that. You know, his band is going to be playing at the
Grand Ole Opry.
Grand Ole Opry, thank you. For whatever reason, I wanted to say the rhyme. At the Grand Ole Opry.
Yes, sir.
That's going to be this Sunday. I'm going to be there. Very excited to get to, you know, they say that I'm going to meet Gary Sinise. Should I, I'm a little cynical about that because I've been told that I'm going to meet celebrities before, but suddenly they forget who I am when I get to the backstage area. That's weird. I don't see your name on the list.
Sir, do you have a pass?
I don't see your name on the list. Do you have a pass? No, I don't. They told me I could meet Slam.
Yeah, you go through this door and then go through out that door right there.
Yeah, that's
I'm out in the audience.
That's exactly right.
Sir, can I help you find your seat?
All right, got a lot more straight ahead. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Going to tell you about more showers and thunderstorms and the timeline during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Election 2024, President Biden addresses the nation tonight at 7 o'clock Middle Tennessee time about his decision to drop out of the race and endorse Vice President Harris. You can hear Biden's address live on air and online right here on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Meanwhile, Lionel Moise says Harris drew a crowd in Milwaukee yesterday.
Vice President Kamala Harris on the campaign trail for the first time as the presumptive Democratic nominee, bashing Trump's stance on abortion.
We who believe in reproductive freedom will stop Donald Trump's extreme abortion bans because we trust women to make decisions about their own body.
Well, Republicans say Americans are not fooled by this rebranding of Harris since Biden quit the race.
What has she done other than make a mess of everything? So we love this. We love that Kamala Harris is at the top of the ticket. I'm looking forward to the debate, and it will be very interesting to see how it all develops.
As House Speaker Mike Johnson during his weekly press conference. By the way, polling since Biden quit and endorsed Harris still showing more Americans trust former President Trump with the key issues: inflation, economy, and illegal immigration. Here in Tennessee, Channel 4's Brendan Tierney reports on the new details about the criminal past of the suspects in Trooper Adam Cothran's shooting, Braze Rucker and Timothy Davis.
Trooper Cothran was flown to Vandy with the bullet barely missing his spine. His wife got emotional during the press conference, posting on Facebook that he should hopefully be able to walk again.
Senseless shooting of a very good man and a very good trooper.
Metro Police Chief John Drake says Davis was convicted in 2016 on second-degree murder charges and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Rucker was convicted in 2017 and sentenced to 14 years in prison for an aggravated assault.
It's inexplicable how this person can even have had the opportunity to do this.
Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Jim Ryan has some money news about UPS, digital music streaming services, Google, Delta Airlines, and home sales.
Weaker than expected revenues at UPS sent the company's share price down 12%, while digital music streaming service Spotify jumped 12% after posting its second quarterly profit. Falling YouTube ad revenue dragged down Google shares in extended trading. Delta Airlines this morning issued an apology to customers affected by the global CrowdStrike outage and offered each 10,000 bonus miles. All the big carriers were affected by Friday's meltdown, Delta more than the others. Home prices are up, and for the fourth month in a row, sales of existing homes are down. The National Association of Realtors says sales in June fell more than 5%. The median price is now just under $427,000.
Dow futures down 163, S&P down 39, NASDAQ down 218. That's the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news.
7:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on to your Wednesday, July 24th. Hope you are doing well along with Johnny B. and Ken Weaver. Gary Sinise is going to be joining us at 7:35 here on Nashville's Morning News. Really looking forward to that because, you know, with all the political stuff that is going on, I'm really looking forward to hearing Gary talk about what he does for the veterans, a big show that he's going to be playing at the Grand Ole Opry this weekend. Going to talk about a number of different things with Gary Sinise as we really do celebrate 30 years since Forrest Gump. I can't believe it's been 30 years. I remember going to see Forrest Gump in the actual theaters, and it's one of my all-time favorite movies. So looking forward to that. Again, coming up at 7:35 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There is a lot of news that we've been covering today.
So now that the process is played out, from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
I got to tell you, that is the soundbite of the day. That is Chuck Schumer.
That's gold.
And he, like, nobody clapped.
Well, I can feel the excitement.
I'm clapping.
I mean, she didn't even get a golf clap.
No.
And then what made it worse is like one person sitting in the second or third row actually threw down like one clap, like, oh, wait, aren't we supposed to clap?
Yeah, then there was nervous laughter.
Yes.
There was nervous laughter. And I guess the question is, all right, so, and I liked what Brian said in that promo, which we played a few minutes ago, which is, you know, they're trying to rebrand Kamala Harris. There's this great coronation. But the question is, how long will that excitement last? Now,
until we go to the grocery store.
Until we go to the grocery store. That's exactly right. But one of the things that a lot of people are looking forward to is the first Harris-Trump debate. Now, that's going to be one for the ages. I mean, everybody knew what Trump is going to be like during a debate. Everybody, by and large, knows. But what we didn't know was what Joe Biden was going to show up at the last debate. Well, we know about Kamala Harris. We know about Donald Trump. And these are two people that are clearly hard-headed. But the difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris is, for whatever reason, Kamala Harris is insanely unlikable, and Donald Trump, at least for many Americans, is likable. Remember, a number of things are out there this morning because her past is now coming up again. It is all coming back up, including, of course, as I've been saying off and on throughout the morning, that because the Democrats are just so obsessed with Donald Trump and this supposed relationship, or whatever you want to call it, with Stormy Daniels, well, then guess what? How Kamala Harris got into politics, which was an affair with Willie Brown, the mayor of San Francisco, Slick Willie, they used to call him. Then that is up for conversation as well. That is well-worn territory. So that's number one. Number two is you do have the Democrats now, and these are the same Democrats that have been calling Donald Trump a threat to democracy. They literally broke democracy because they plowed Joe Biden through the primary. Now they threatened him with the 25th Amendment, installing Kamala Harris. And so they themselves have lost a couple of different talking points. If you think about this, they have lost a couple of talking points with Kamala Harris because, you know, they can't be the party of character. Not that anybody ever really believed that bit, but they're no longer the party of character because the woman they have installed to run for president got her start in politics having an affair with Slick Willie, the mayor of San Francisco, and he set her up with donors, and he gave her a couple of appointments and so forth. That's number one. And number two, they can no longer talk about Donald Trump being, air quoting, literally a threat to democracy. They simply can't. So that's number two. J.D. Vance is out on the campaign trail saying a lot of good things. By the way, in the news today, just so you know that I know, the story about how the Democrats went to Joe Biden, threatened him with the 25th Amendment if he didn't step aside, and that is exactly what he did. And so that is part of the news cycle this morning. J.D. Vance out on the campaign trail, and he is joining Republicans in calling out Kamala Harris. This is part of what he had to say.
Now, history will remember Joe Biden as not just a quitter, which he is, but one of the worst presidents of the United States of America. But my friends, Kamala Harris is 1,000,000 times worse, and everybody knows it.
That is absolutely true. By the way, did you hear what, apparently I'm looking for the audio, but I'm not sure if there is audio on this. Oh, wait, there may be. J.D. Vance at one point called Kamala Harris a childless cat lady. They say this is a vile and sexist remark. This was on Tucker Carlson.
What he's saying is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
You know, actually, he brings up an interesting point. I mean, putting the sort of comedy of the childless cat ladies that he called these folks. But, you know, when you don't have kids, and I'm not disparaging people that don't have kids, but when you don't have kids, I do believe that you have a different perspective. I just do. I believe that. Now, this is going to make people mad. Folks who don't have kids, again, I mean no disrespect, but ask any parent. Any parent will tell you that your perspective simply changes when you have children. I mean, my perspective absolutely changed, and I looked at my world and our world in a completely different way when I had kids. And now that I have, Riker in my life, 10 years old now, hard to believe, 10 years old, almost as tall as me. And I live in fear for his future. I do. And if you have little kids in your house, you probably fear for their future as well. And so the bigger, broader point that J.D. Vance is making about what is going on in America is a good one. Think about the futures for our children, because he brings up, again, some very, very good points. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. 7:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time to check the roads. $7:16 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Rain today and a high of 79, 73 now on WTN. Is a childless cat lady, is that a sexist remark? Johnny, do you think that's a sexist remark? I'm going to leave Ken out of this because I don't want to put Ken in a weird position. But, I mean.
I think in these days, probably.
Okay.
It would probably be seen as that.
I can see how it could be seen as that, as a sexist remark. Childless cat ladies.
Yes.
But, a lot of the women that I know that are childless actually favor dogs.
Yeah, they do. Now, I know one that favors both and has a lot of both.
Would it have been worse if he said childless dog ladies?
Probably including ladies is probably the...
Oh, is that what it is?
I think so.
Thank you, Johnny, for clearing up that.
I think just nailing women as being the ones that are alone and having dog or cat in the house.
Yeah. Because you know what? Because when you're a woman and you have no kids, there is a certain stigma to that, isn't there? There is a stigma to that.
And the same with guys. I mean, the guys, we look at them as being in the basement of their mother's home. On the computer.
Yeah, that's true. If a guy has never been married and he has no kids, then you assume a couple of things. Number one, perhaps he's gay.
Right.
Or perhaps his, he lives in the basement with his mother. truth of the matter is, he might just be a playa.
He might be.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A playa.
A playa.
Yeah, it's got to be really tough if you're a guy that's never been married and no kids. You have no child support. You have no alimony to pay.
Yeah, playa.
I know
You're just playing.
I have one friend in Alabama who has never been married. He still has the first dollar he ever got, and he has it framed to remind him, I never want to get married. And he never did. And he's wealthy.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I know a couple of guys who have never been married, and they mock guys like me.
Oh, yeah.
Who had to pay child support and alimony and all that kind of stuff. And, they just laugh.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you should have heard him crow when I told him I was getting married again. He was like, I'll spare you the details, but he was like, why do men do this all the time? And I tell him all the time, I'm happier than I've ever been in my entire life now.
Right.
And most guys will tell you, well, yeah, but we have children. And they are the apple of our eyes. So, there's that aspect of it as well. What about just saying childless pet people, says 8011. I guess that's something that J.D. Vance could have done as well.
Yeah, that probably would have been a better.
Anyway.
Pet people.
Pet people.
Childless birthing people is probably would have been better, says 6288. Let's see here. 2847, the single childless ladies I know are smart, successful, and seem to be happy. There you go.
That's true, too.
Everybody's got a story. So, yeah, I think J.D. Vance could have been better.
Yeah, that was kind of.
I think he could have done better.
That was a little. Well, that's an old phrase. I mean, that's the problem. It doesn't play well in today's time.
You're right. It doesn't. Moving right along. 7:19 on Nashville's Morning News. Let's see here. He talked about J.D. Vance. Going back to J.D. Vance. Obviously, the point of the whole story is Kamala Harris. And one of the things that's happening today as we speak, as we cover the news and we watch the news, is everybody is waiting with anticipation to see how exactly it is that she is going to defend the record of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I mean, in our newscast today, there's polling out there that shows that the American people by far trust Donald Trump more than Kamala Harris on the issues. The reason for that is because we've had 4 years of Donald Trump and we had 3 years of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And so we know what both of them are capable of. One of them I look forward to, which is Joe Biden, which is Donald Trump. The other I'm terrified of, which is Kamala Harris. This is one of the things they talk about is Donald Trump and the greatest deportation program in American history. That is something they've been talking about for a long time. This is the brother of Rachel Marin.
My sister's death was preventable. The monster arrested for killing Rachel entered the U.S. unlawfully after killing a woman in El Salvador. Joe Biden and his designated border czar, Kamala Harris, opened our borders to him and others like him, empowering them to victimize the innocent. Yet, to this day, we have not heard from Joe Biden or Kamala Harris.
Yeah, in fact, we've got CNN on the TV here in the studio, and their story right now is that Donald Trump is going to slam, and the GOP is going to slam Kamala Harris and the immigration policy or lack thereof of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. 722, and he should. He should, because if we're going to focus on the issues, then they lose. Kamala Harris and the Democrats lose all day long. 722 on Nashville's Morning News. The super text line is open, 615-737-9986. Gary Sinise is coming up at 7:35. If I know anything after fixing up my house over the years, it is that good companies are hard to find, which is why I am so glad I can tell you about one of the great ones. Let me introduce you to Copper Creek Electric. Now, they've been electrifying Middle Tennessee since 2008. And so whatever you need done, they can do it. From residential remodels to new construction, Copper Electrical do any job you need from your home to your business. And these folks at Copper Creek Electric, they do it all. They do it right the first time. They're going to tailor the job to your needs. Now, you do know that the electrical in your home or your business is serious. It does need to be up to code. Copper Creek Electric, they can do that. They're easy to work with, licensed and insured. Their technicians have to pass drug tests and background checks as well. In other words, you can trust Copper Creek Electric with your wallet and your home and business. So check them out today. If you need electrical work done, these are the people to call. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. That phone number is 615-476-8697, 615-476-8697. You can find them online, coppercreekelectric.biz. That's coppercreekelectric.biz. 7:23 on Nashville's Morning News. Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news?
President Biden's prepping for an Oval Office address of the nation tonight. Kamala Harris polling since her boss endorsed her to take his place. Republicans warning America not to be fooled by her rebranding, and new details about the shooting of State Trooper Adam Cothran. Facebook cracking down on sextortion, coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
729, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. The Glock store. You know, some folks, they ask me about the Glock store and why I love them so much. It is because I'm a client of theirs. It's not because they pay me. I was a customer first. Then they paid me. Now, listen, they started advertising. I was curious, so I went down there and finally bought my first Glock. Then I started their incredible training, added that to my commercials as well. And just like most of my other sponsors, I am a client and a satisfied one. Now, I did get a bit of a discount on some of the upgrades that I did on my Glock. They weren't free, and they were basically the upgrades and discounts that you can get weekly at the Glock store. Check them out online today, glockstore.com. That is glockstore.com. One more time, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, glockstore.com.
7:30 on the dot this Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Tell you about the more showers and thunderstorms and the timeline on the way during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Election 2024, President Biden addressing the nation tonight from the Oval Office. It's set for 7 o'clock Middle Tennessee time. He's going to tell everyone his decision about this decision to drop out of the race and endorse Vice President Harris. Hear it live on air and online right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Lionel Moise covering the campaign trail.
The crowd of thousands bigger than any Biden campaign event this election cycle.
There's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement for Kamala. She's obviously raising a ton of money.
First of all, she can take down Trump in a heartbeat. She can eviscerate him with her words.
A source tells ABC News Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and Arizona Senator Mark Kelly are the leading candidates.
Yeah, Republicans say Americans are not fooled by this rebranding of Harris since Biden quit.
There's no way to dress this up. Kamala Harris has a long record in public service, and she cannot point to a single thing. I don't think a single thing that she has done successfully.
That's Speaker Mike Johnson. New polling since Biden endorsed Harris shows respondents trust former President Trump more on the key issues: inflation, economy, and illegal immigration. By the way, former President Trump speaking at a rally in Charlotte tonight. And here in Tennessee, we know more details about the shooting of Trooper Adam Cothran.
This attack on Trooper Cothran was unprovoked and could have merely ended in a traffic citation.
Yeah, apparently they had a taillight out, but Trooper Cothran still hospitalized, facing a long recovery. And the suspects, Braze Rucker and Timothy Davis, convicted felons who were released from prison early. Sextortion crackdown on Facebook. Reuters says Meta claims it has removed about 63,000 accounts in Nigeria that targeted mainly adult men here in the U.S. with fake accounts, threatening to release compromising photos, either real or faked, if they don't pay to stop them. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 732, Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here. It is an election year. I bet you're wondering if you're invested for the future and your retirement, regardless of what happens in November. Well, I don't know that. Maybe you don't either, but you've got to check out with my friend. You got to check in with my friend, Paul Winkler. Now, he has been on the radio here in Middle Tennessee for nearly 20 years, and he can tell you if you're invested for the long term. Now, Paul and his team are all former investment brokers, insurance agents. One was even a securities attorney who worked for a big financial company. They know the investing world inside and out. They are ready to put that knowledge to work for you. Now, check out Paul and his entire team, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com. These folks are fee-based. In other words, no commissions, which means they're not trying to sell you something. They want to teach you how to relax about money. So again, call them today, 615-851-1950, paulwinkler.com. 737, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I've been looking forward to this interview for days.
Forrest, I never thanked you for saving my life.
It ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no senator.
Gary Sinise joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. Gary, always great to have you on the program. Welcome back to Nashville's Morning News.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Good morning.
So, of course, most folks know you've played Lieutenant Dan in the incredible role on Forrest Gump. And I've got all kinds of questions for you, but we'll get into the charitable aspects of the Gary Sinise Foundation here in a minute. But I want to talk about 30 years ago and the fact that it has been 30 years since the iconic movie came out. The obvious question first, does it feel like 30 years?
Well, you know, with that particular movie, because it's remained in the consciousness of the American public for so long, it doesn't feel like 30 years. It's blown by very quickly, and the movie seems to be on television all the time, and new generations of young folks are seeing it because their parents were young when they saw it. And now they're showing their kids. It's funny. I'll do these concerts on military bases all across the country, and there'll be thousands of people out there. And I will ask them how many people have seen Forrest Gump, and it's just like the entire crowd screams. And I look, and there's kids, and they're waving their hands, and they're saying they've seen it, and they're 10, 12 years old, so parents are showing their kids the movie. It's a classic movie, and I was proud to be in it. It's hard to believe a little bit that it was 30 years ago, but seems to have gone by pretty quickly.
When you were reading the script with Forrest Gump, you got Tom Hanks in there, and obviously people who have seen the movie know that through the magic of movie making, there's edits and various moments in history. Tom Hanks is edited into various moments in history. Did you see the concept on paper? Scenes with, Nixon and John Lennon and so forth. At the time, that was cutting edge stuff. When you read the script, were you cynical that they'd be able to actually make all that happen?
Well, we were working with Bob Zemeckis, and Bob is one of the geniuses in Hollywood who's developed all kinds of techniques and different, computer effects and all that. He works very, very well with his special effects team and everything. So when he started to describe what he was going to do, you kind of, it's going to happen in some form. But when I saw it, some of those effects were so good as, like the legs, my legs in the movie, when they removed my legs, it was, he was describing it and I was trying to picture it. But then when I saw it, the effect was really incredible. And even if you look at the movie today, 30 years later, those effects are still really, really good. And that was kind of the cutting edge of the computer graphics technology that was coming on. And Bob was a big part of kind of developing some of that.
Did you know that on the internet they have these websites and so forth about life lessons that you can learn from Lieutenant Dan? From investing your money to sticking up for your friends and taking care of your feet, believe it or not. When you read the script, did you know that it would be life and career changing?
No. I knew that I was going to be working with Tom Hanks and Bob Zemeckis. It was a great script by Eric Roth. And, all those people were top of their game at that time. So I knew that it was going to be, a well put together movie, but you can't ever predict how a movie is going to turn out. And this one was particularly interesting in that way because so many of the characters, my character, Michael T. Williams, who played Bubba, Sally Field, Robin Wright, we were all working kind of separately. So, all my scenes were basically with Tom, a few with Michael T. Williamson. in Vietnam. But I really didn't know what Sally Field was doing. I didn't see any of her scenes. She was in one scene that I was in when Forrest gets married. But I hadn't seen any of her work. I hadn't seen any of Robin Wright's work or what they were doing. So it was a bit of a mystery. We didn't really know how the movie was going to turn out. But I remember going to the first screening of it. They showed it was a small screening for just the cast and some of the crew members before it premiered. And at the end of the movie, we all looked at each other with big smiles on our faces because it was really good. And then a week later, it opened, and everybody loved it, and people still love it. It's wonderful.
Do you have a favorite scene? You mentioned the wedding scene where you walk up, you've got your new titanium legs and your fiance, and that is, I'll tell you, my favorite scene. I've seen the movie 100 times. Do you have an actual favorite scene in that movie that you especially like?
You know, the Lieutenant Dan story is a well-crafted, small little story. It's probably maybe, 20 minutes of the film, 25 minutes. But it's a well-crafted story, and all the scenes kind of fit together very nicely. I love doing all the Vietnam stuff, and we did some boot camp training. We went out and lived in the woods for 3 or 4 days and just trained before we shot those scenes. That was a lot of fun to do, and going on the shrimp boat and doing all that stuff. That was fun. Tom and I had a good time doing all that. There's a very moving scene when Lieutenant Dan, he's angry at Forrest for saving his life. Basically, he thought he should die with his man out in the field, and he didn't want to be disabled by the bombs that he took his legs off, and he was very angry at Forrest, and he pulls him out of the bed and starts screaming at him, and then he says, "What am I going to do now?" And he's a guy who all he wanted to do was have a military career, serve his country, raise up the ranks, and I think Lieutenant Dan wanted to be a great military leader, and he got all that taken away from him. And of course, he represents so many of our Vietnam veterans and, so many of our wounded heroes who, join the service, go off, fight for our country, and then something bad happens to them and they have to adjust. And that's so much of what we do at the Gary Sinise Foundation is to help, our wounded heroes kind of adjust to life after their injury and move forward in life.
Your foundation, Gary Sinise joining us, your foundation, over 1 million meals, nearly 600 free concerts, Lieutenant Dan Band, 92 fully accessible homes for veterans, including one this year, actually, for U.S. Army Sergeant Joshua Hargis here in Nolensville in Middle Tennessee. Did you actually start all that with your role as Lieutenant Dan and the research that came from that?
It's interesting. I have a lot of veterans in my family on both my side of the family and my wife's side of the family. On her side of the family are Vietnam veterans, and I learned a great deal from them when I was younger. And about what it was like to go off and serve in Vietnam and then come home, and then it was a difficult period for our veterans coming home from Vietnam. So I learned quite a bit about that from them, and that was definitely a motivating factor. When we deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, people started getting hurt, and we started losing people, and families started struggling, and I just wanted to do something to help. So I volunteered for the USO, and I went out there and started visiting troops in the war zones and going to the hospitals and that kind of thing. Started volunteering for multiple different military and first responder support nonprofits and trying to help them raise money. And that's where the Gary Sinise Foundation came from. It was out of a lot of service work that came before I decided to create the foundation. The foundation's now in its 14th year. We've raised hundreds of millions of dollars over the years and deployed those resources to our, the families of our fallen heroes, to our wounded service members. We built 92 homes Josh's home will probably be 93 or 94 by that time, because we're building about 10, 12 specially adapted smart technology homes for our wounded each year. And I'm glad, I'm glad to be doing this. It makes the career and the success in the career, with the career, matter that much more when you can take it and kind of do something positive to help other people with it. I encourage people to go to GarySiniseFoundation.org and see what we're doing. And you know about this Opry thing that we're doing this weekend?
Yeah, you're going to be playing it. I've been talking about it a little bit this morning. I've mentioned it many times, actually. I'm very excited to be going myself. You're going to be playing at the Grand Ole Opry. It's 30 years of Forrest Gump. Your band is going to be playing, the Lieutenant Dan Band, playing music from the movie and a whole lot more. And afterwards, and I'm really excited about this, there's going to be a Q&A with you, the actor that played Bubba, Michael T. Williamson, and also the director, Wendy Feinerman, is going to be doing it.
Wendy's the producer of the movie. She's the one who actually bought the book. Forrest Gump is based on a book by Winston Groom, and she found the book and she got the movie made. So Wendy will be there. She's a good friend. And also, remember little Forrest, who's running with the braces on his legs?
Yeah.
All of that. That's Michael Connor Humphreys, and he's going to be there as well. We're going to do a Q&A for a VIP reception after the show. But we have great artists on the bill that night, and every one of them, and they're all going to be doing songs from the Forrest Gump soundtrack, not exclusively, but each one of them in their sets will do at least one song from the Forrest Gump soundtrack, which was a fantastic soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. Our friends, the Gatlin brothers, a friend of the radio station, they're going to be there as well. So we're really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Q&A, really looking forward to hearing your band play as well. Are you going to break out the 5-string bass this time, or are you going to stick with 4?
4 is all I can manage. That's all. I'm an old timer from back in the 70s playing 4 strings.
No, I get it. I'm an old-time bass player myself, and I never really was very good, so I turned into a talk show host. Gary Sinise, as always, thank you very much for joining us here on Super Talk 99.7. More information on the foundation and tickets to this incredible event at the Grand Ole Opry. It's going to be this weekend on Sunday night. GarySiniseFoundation.org is where you can find more information. Gary, looking forward to seeing you this weekend, and hope you have a great rest of the week.
Hey, thanks so much. You too.
All right, see you later. 7:50 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a great event. I cannot wait. You think they'll really let me meet Gary Sinise? I didn't want to mention it on the interview, actually, and he's off. I hung up on him.
Yes, you did.
So you think they're actually going to let me meet him? Because, I was trying. The problem with Gary Sinise, whenever I interview Gary, is that I'm such a fan. And I try not to fanboy, but I just can't help myself.
Yeah.
Because that movie, Forrest Gump, was just amazing.
I loved him as Stu Redman in Stephen King's, what was the name of that movie? The Stand.
The Stand, yes.
I like him in every role he plays.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
CSI as well. He was very good there, too. And you know what's so funny is I never get nervous doing this job anymore, except when I interview Gary Sinise. Why is that? I don't know why that is.
I don't know, Brother Dan.
It's because he's one of those people that I've always looked up to and admired. And what he does with you know what I like best about that interview?
What's that?
So I'm asking him all these questions, and I think he's like, when the hell is he going to ask me about the event in the Opry?
Yeah.
Did you notice that too?
I did. He did a great segue.
Yeah, he did.
It was perfect. Hey, we're playing the Opry this week.
We got a big event this weekend. You know about that? And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll go ahead and start talking about that.
Fast forward 30 years, Brother Dan. We're going to be at the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, man. And so then, and this is so stupid, I'm just talking about my own experience with this interview. So then I'm like, well, yeah, I've been mentioning it all morning long. Suddenly I feel defensive. proving to Gary Sinise that I've been talking about it all morning long. So there you go.
As if he's a super texter.
That's right, as if he's a super texter. Anyway, always great to have him on. Man, what an honor, Gary Sinise. 7:52 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here for Tennessee National. Now listen, if you dream of living by the lake, you know, some incredible new properties are now opening up about 20 minutes outside of Knoxville. It is just a short drive to the Smoky Mountains and perfect for retirement home or full-time living. Now, it's going to happen this Saturday, July 27th. You can get an exclusive tour of these properties and check out these amazing deals by the lake. 2-acre wooded estate lots with boat slips, they are starting at $79,900. Reserve your townhome for only $20,000 and a lake cottage package with a boat slip going for $349,900. Now, the amenities, they are incredible. 10 miles of walking trails, pickleball courts, pools, and a brand new marina. There's something for everybody, and yes, every budget as well. So remember, that is this Saturday, July 27th. You have got to reserve your private tour because times are limited. You can find them online, lakelivingtn.com, 865-408-9992, 865-408-9992. You know what happens, Johnny, is that I'm doing the commercials, and I think back as I'm reading the commercial, I'm thinking back to, you know, again, Gary Sinise just trying to segue into the reason for the interview.
Yeah.
I just keep laughing.
Yeah, it was great.
People on the super text line noticing that as well. You know, well done, Mandis, making the guest actually bring up the reason for the interview.
When do tickets go on sale for Forrest Gump?
All right. Always an adventure. GarySiniseFoundation.org. It is 7:54. Ken, what's coming up in news?
Well, we got a Biden Oval Office address preview. Kamala Harris on the campaign trail. Republicans warn, don't be fooled by the rebranding. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addresses Congress today. And then we have new details about the Tennessee trooper shooting at 8 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 8 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got more showers and thunderstorms on the way. Tell you about the timeline during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Election 2024, President Biden addresses the nation tonight at 7 o'clock Middle Tennessee time. Here's Selena Wang.
This will be the first time that he explains why he decided to drop out of this race, and he'll focus on what lies ahead and how he wants to finish his presidency. Biden returned to the White House yesterday after recovering from COVID in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware for more than 5 days. Biden's doctor says that he tested negative for COVID and no longer has symptoms.
Hear Biden tonight live on air and online at Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Meanwhile, on the campaign trail, Mary Bruce.
Harris leaning into the kitchen table issues on the minds of so many voters.
Building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Trump has been off the trail since Saturday. On a call with reporters, he went on the attack.
She's the same as Biden, but much more radical.
But he did say he's willing to debate her.
Yeah, Republicans say Americans are not fooled by this rebranding of Harris since Biden dropped out of the race.
Crises owned by Kamala Harris, co-owned. The border crisis, the inflation crisis, the crime crisis, everything happening with the economy, our national security, weakness on the world stage. She is a equal partner in all of that. So she can't run from it. She has to run on it. And we will ensure that the American people know the facts.
Yeah, polling since Biden quit and endorsed Harris still showing more Americans trust former President Trump with the key issues: inflation, economy, and immigration. And later today, in our nation's capital, Stephen Portnoy says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivers a highly anticipated speech to Congress.
Call it a BB Blitz. After speaking to a joint meeting of Congress today, the Israeli Prime Minister will meet with President Biden at the White House tomorrow and travel to Mar-a-Lago Friday to meet with former President Trump. We're told Vice President Harris will also sit with Netanyahu at some point. Security for his speech to lawmakers today will be extremely tight, with police officers from as far away as New York heading down here to Washington to assist Capitol Police.
Here in Tennessee, Channel 4's Brendan Tierney reports on the new details about the criminal past of the suspects in Trooper Adam Cothran's shooting, Braze Rucker and Timothy Davis.
Trooper Cothran was flown to Vandy with the bullet barely missing his spine. His wife got emotional during the press conference, posting on Facebook that he should hopefully be able to walk again.
Senseless shooting of a very good man and a very good trooper.
Metro Police Chief John Drake says Davis was convicted in 2016 on second-degree murder charges and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Rucker was convicted in 2017 and sentenced to 14 years in prison for an aggravated assault.
It's inexplicable how this person can even have had the opportunity to do this.
Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Dow futures down 181, S&P down 52, NASDAQ futures down 301. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Information fueled.
Opinion driven. This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news.
8:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So I think, Johnny and Ken, that we need to be cognizant, or at least maybe your host needs to be cognizant, that there's a lot of women who listen who are childless and have cats.
Yeah.
I think we need to be cognizant of that because I've heard from every single one of them this morning.
I imagine you have.
I didn't really mean anything by it. I think the problem is I don't like cats. And so earlier in the broadcast, if you missed it, we played audio from J.D. Vance where he talked about how the United States is being run. This was a while ago. This was when he was on Tucker Carlson's show on Fox News. And what he basically said is that the Democrat Party and the United States is being run by women who are childless and have cats, right? And it was disparaging. And so I don't even know what I said, except I kind of chuckled at it. But ultimately, as we worked it all out on the air, it is not the best of comments to make if you're J.D. Vance, especially if you're trying to win the support of
people who own cats
and are childless.
Yes, and
women.
female. Yes.
And so after our apparently, probably should have been briefer conversation in the previous hour about that, I heard from every single childless cat woman in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
So we're not going to bring that up again.
Well, we'll know who to blame in November.
It's exactly right. It's all the childless cat women across America. Angry with J.D. Vance. Because we're trying to figure out, okay, is that a sexist comment? Because I was, I hate people that automatically go to the ist card, right?
Yeah.
Sexist and racist and all that other kind of stuff. I don't like people to automatically jump to that card. What I will say is probably not the best of comments for J.D. Vance to make, but...
No, it's outdated. I mean...
It is outdated.
Yeah, it's very outdated. That's what it is.
And you know what? As we were talking about, speaking about it earlier, a lot of those, childless cat women... I mean, they're perfectly fine and happy.
They're brilliant, a lot of them.
And absolutely right. And some people make priorities and, they don't want to have kids and don't want to, whatever. Whatever. To each his own. To each his own, man.
Would you like an extra show?
Dan, would you like to explain that comment right there?
No, I don't.
Let's go back to the Gary Sinise interview, too.
Yes. Sorry.
No, let's not. Everybody on the Super Text line, by the way, asking me, why didn't you ask him about, whether or not he was going to come to the pajama party?
Oh, he wouldn't.
He wouldn't remember that, folks.
No.
For folks who, because, new listeners are coming in all the time. The last time, there's a lot of inside jokes on this show because of the host who is not so inside of a joke.
And doesn't like cats.
Everybody knows. So one of the first times we had Gary Sinise on, I put him on hold, and then we were joking about inviting him to a pajama party sleepover at my house with popcorn and slippers.
And we'll watch movies and eat pop-pop.
And watch movies and eat pop-pop. I didn't realize he was still on hold.
Yeah.
And I looked down during this silly, 45 seconds conversation. He's listening to that entire thing.
Right.
So I put him back on the air, and I said, did you hear that? He said... I heard every word. And I mean, it's just the funniest thing ever.
Well, he said, getting at the pool, that'd be fun. He said, getting in pajamas, I don't think so.
He stopped short of that.
That's not going to happen.
He sure did. I mean, it's very funny. And he was a good sport. And believe it or not, he still comes on the show.
Yeah.
And people still remember. That was years ago now.
That was years ago.
So anyway, whatever. So to encapsulate the last few minutes...
Why didn't you ask him if he owned cats?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to ask him that. Anyway, so I don't like cats, and I do like Gary Sinise, and there's nothing wrong with being a childless cat woman. Or, by the way, a childless cat man.
That's right.
Or a childless dog, woman, or man, or whatever. It's like, it's no problem whatsoever.
Hey, man, whatever you choose in your life.
You do you.
You do you.
That's
baby.
what I like to tell people.
That's
you do
right.
you.
You do you, I'll do me, and we'll all be happy.
You ever notice that people respond to, all of the silly things that we talk about?
The most.
Yes, and like when I manage to stick not 1 but 2 feet right in my mouth and all the way down my gullet and into my stomach, that's when I, really start hearing from people.
Yeah.
So anyway. So I think what I'm going to do now at 8:11 is we're going to have a moment with Joyless Joy Reid.
Hey, fam. Okay, I just got to say it. Given the just stratospheric entrance of Vice President Kamala Harris into the presidential campaign, and she has now secured enough delegates to become the nominee, you're going to look real crazy being on the other side of that line.
If there's anybody who knows what crazy is, it is Joy Reid.
Particularly as a person of color, but really as anyone who claims to have any connection to the culture. You're going to look real weird and real lonely on that side.
I wonder how many cats Joy Reid has.
I wonder if she wants to go to Waffle House and celebrate.
Let's look that up.
Does Joy Reid have any cats?
Joy Reid have cats.
I think Joy, can I just say this? I think Joy Reid is starting to lose it.
You think she's nuts?
I think cuckoo. I think that's Joy Reid. I do. She was unhinged at the RNC. Now she's probably better now.
Oh yeah, because of the
because you got Kamala Harris in there now.
Yeah, it was a monumental rise too.
Yeah,
it was a monumental rise. I don't think Joy Reid has any kids, and I don't care if she does or not. She could have 5 kids. I still wouldn't like her.
Oh, I thought you were talking about cats.
Cats and kids.
Whatever. I'd feel sorry for either one.
Yeah.
I live with her. Can you imagine?
No.
Oh, Joy Reid.
Yeah. Bringing joy.
There's people that are talking about, and, what?
I'm looking at stuff about her, man.
Yeah.
People talk about her real blonde hair and that sort of thing.
Yeah, she's not liked. I tweeted out the other day. This woman
I find that odd.
This is a woman that makes $1 million a year, over $1 million a year.
Yeah.
And that's what she brings to the table.
I find it odd she's not very well liked.
Yeah, me too. I thought she'd be.
I couldn't imagine. I can't imagine that.
There's some people, I guess, that swear by her. Her and the other one. What's the other one?
They probably swear about her, too, apparently.
You got Joy Behar. You got Joyless Reid.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a fun time. Joy Behar and Joy Reid.
Can you imagine being in a room with those two? Having to talk politics.
No, I wouldn't appreciate that, actually.
They probably hate each other.
You know who was on, who was on The View yesterday is Cringe Jean-Pierre.
Oh. Was she?
And we have not even gotten to that audio as of yet.
Oh, man.
Got to.
Come on, Brother Dan.
As the coronation continues, and we'll cover it next on Super Talk.
Rebranding.
The rebranding. The coronation of Kamala Harris. And Cringe Jean-Pierre is on The View. I've got the audio next on Super Talk 99.7. Time to check the roads. Thank you very much. Shade 15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Rain today and a high of 79 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, the president is supposed to speak tonight, and we're going to carry that live. It's 7 o'clock. And, Andy Ogles, who filed impeachment, articles of impeachment against Kamala Harris. He is going to be joining Chris Hand later this morning at 11 o'clock here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, I do have to revisit my favorite audio bite of the day. This is Chuck Schumer announcing that he and the Democrats in the Senate, they are supporting Kamala Harris.
Grassroots, bottom up. We are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
Literally no one but Chuck Schumer clapped.
That's electric.
That crowd was underwhelmed.
Oh, boy, they sure were underwhelmed, weren't they? It is kind of funny, too, when you think about it, because you have to ask the question, is this whole rebranding, the coronation of Kamala Harris, is this really within the Democrat Party? People are sort of rolling their eyes and they're not looking forward to this at all in the least because they know what her record is? That's part of the question that I would have. Is you know what her record is. You know that she's not well liked. You know that she didn't make it in the primary. I mean, she was the first one to drop out. And so knowing all that, the question then has to become, are they really as excited as they seem to think they are, as they're portraying themselves as, or do they just understand that she's not Joe Biden and anybody other than Joe Biden is a good thing? You know, that might be part of it, because for Kamala Harris, all you have to do is do a quick Google search and they will tell you that even though the left is trying to portray her as a moderate, she's anything but. And the more that they try to do that, I believe that the more suspicious people are going to be. Because, I mean, in all honesty, she's given interviews where she talked about how she supports massive illegal immigration. She supports an open border. She lied to the American people about the open border. And so for millions of Americans who their core issue is the southern border, and you have Harris lying to the American people about whether or not it was open or closed. That's number one. She also, by the way, favors benefits, medical benefits, taxpayer-paid medical benefits for illegal aliens. So she also does that. She supports that as well. So, and I'm hearing from people on the super text line who are saying, you know, they are terrified of a Kamala Harris presidency. Well, here's the deal, friends. What we really need to make sure is that we go out, we vote early, we do everything we can to ensure that the American people understand who Kamala Harris really is. Now, here's some audio from The View. This is last night. Cringe Jean-Pierre yesterday. She was on The View, and this is the ladies on The View. Not sure how many cats they have or kids they have. And with Cringe Jean-Pierre.
It's insanity of a news cycle where people go, he's got to go, he's too old, he's too much. Where was your head when you are hearing people go at him like this as he's recovering from COVID at the same time?
I'll tell you where her head was at. She's got to update her resume. Because I almost can guarantee you that Kamala Harris will, if she ends up, you know, being the president of the United States, or if they 25th Amendment Joe Biden out of there, Cringe has to go. I mean, that is most certainly.
So, look, you know, this has been an interesting couple of weeks, to say the least.
Nuh-uh.
But what has always been the case is it's always been a privilege and an honor for me to represent this president of the United States and be the White House press secretary for this president.
Right.
And at the...
Wow. For this president.
Who watches this show, man?
A lot of people, man. A lot of people.
Well, that explains a lot.
You'll notice, by the way, Cringe isn't actually answering the question.
End of the day, when you think about what he has done the last 4 years, when you think about who he...
Oh, we think about it all the time.
Yeah.
Actually, when we go buy groceries. And
yeah, we'll be doing that Sunday.
Try to pay for stuff.
He has been as a human, as a person. He... By the time we're done, by the time we run through the finish line at the end of January, he would have done more than most presidents have done in 8 years. He would have done more in 4 years.
Boy, he sure did. On hyperdrive.
Wow. You know, you can just turn her words right around, and it's too.
It's like a Saturday Night Live skit.
It is.
They were funny.
She is absolutely a Saturday Night Live skit. Cringe Jean-Pierre, and I'll save you the rest of that insanity from The View. But obviously, there's no record to run on. Kamala Harris doesn't have a record to run on. What she has done is bad for the American people. Border czar, give me a break. The border was wide open. And by the way, people on the left will say, well, wait a minute. Her job as border czar wasn't actually to to protect the border. It was to figure out the reasons for the mass migration to America. The root causes. Well, they still came. So whether it was protecting the border or whether it was trying to figure out and tackle the root causes, it's all under the same umbrella of the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration. They had a terrible policy when it came to a number of things, including the border. So that's one of the things that the media is trying to do is save Kamala Harris by saying that as borders are, it wasn't her job to protect the southern border. It was her job to figure out and tackle the root causes of the migration. Well, number one, she never handled that because they're still coming. Number two, although it has slowed down. Number two is that she lied to the American people about whether or not the border was open or closed. So to me, that's not necessarily a saving policy. That's not a lifeline from the media for Kamala Harris because she still did all of those other things, and every failure of the Biden administration is on her as well. 822 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Window Nation is my window company. There's a lot of reasons why. Number one, because they put windows in my basement studio, and now I've ordered 2 more windows, one for my kitchen, another one for the bedroom upstairs. So I am indeed a client of Window Nation. A lot of you folks are as well. I've heard from you people who have gone through Window Nation to get your new windows, and you as well are satisfied customers. Now, a great deal going on right now for listeners to my show. You're going to buy 2 windows, you're going to get 2 free. Plus, you're going to pay no interest or payments for 2 full years. Their installation teams have over 10 years of experience, and they can install in a day or less, and these amazing windows come with a lifetime warranty. And that's why thousands of homeowners have trusted Window Nation, including me, and they can help you as well. 866-90-NATION. Don't forget that incredible opportunity right now. You're going to buy 2 windows, get 2 free. There is no limit, and pay no interest and make no payments for 2 full years. 866-90-NATION is the phone number. 866-90-NATION. You can always find them online at windownation.com. That's windownation.com. 824, Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news?
Well, President Biden preparing to tell America what he is going to do with 6 months left of his presidency. We'll preview that. We've got Mary Bruce reporting from the campaign trail now that Vice President Harris is out there. Republicans warning, don't be fooled by this rebranding. All this and more coming up at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
8:29, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 News with Ken is coming up next. Dan Mandis here. Are you getting the internet connection you deserve? If not, join me over at Xfinity, where you can get 5G home internet for half of what folks are paying with T-Mobile. Now, Xfinity provides reliable internet with the speed you need at a great value. Now, you're going to get consistently fast speeds, even during peak hours, with 99.9% network reliability. For the internet you deserve, follow me over to Xfinity. I've been a client for years. Now through July 25th, get 150 megabit Xfinity internet for just $30 a month for 12 months with no annual contract and equipment included. That's 50% savings over T-Mobile 5G home internet for the first year. To learn more, go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today.
$8:30 on the dot this Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We're going to tell you about the chance for showers and thunderstorms. That is going to continue now, probably from now until fall. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. President Biden says he still has 6 months left in his presidency. Says he's determined to do everything he can to accomplish his goals, both at home and overseas. And he's going to tell America all about it during an Oval Office address tonight, scheduled for 7 o'clock Middle Tennessee time. Hear it live right here on air and online. Meanwhile, Mary Bruce covering the campaign trail.
Kamala Harris is hitting the ground running. Her first campaign rally in battleground Wisconsin, electrifying a crowd of 3,000 supporters.
We have doors to knock on. We have phone calls to make. We have voters to register. And we have an election to win.
Harris already now the presumptive Democratic nominee, as President Biden prepares to address the nation about his historic decision to bow out of the race.
Republicans say Americans are not fooled by this rebranding of Harris.
Crises owned by Kamala Harris, co-owned. The border crisis, the inflation crisis, the crime crisis, everything happening with the economy, our national security, weakness on the world stage.
And new polling since Biden endorsed Harris shows respondents trust former President Trump more with the key issues: inflation, economy, and illegal immigration. And former President Trump speaking at a rally in Charlotte tonight. Harris will be in Indianapolis. Market Numbers Report. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. We are just about 2 minutes into the new trading day, and right now the Dow is off 149 points. S&P down 50. The NASDAQ is down 1.5%, down 264 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 8:32, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here. Did you know that Mark Spain Real Estate is the #1 most reviewed real estate company in America? They've got over 11,000 five-star reviews. They're going to sell your home fast and for maximum profit. This is, as I like to say, hassle-free selling with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Now, they've been helping homeowners sell their homes for nearly 30 years. Matter of fact, they've helped over 58,000 families sell their homes. So you want to call them, Mark Spain Real Estate, 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. Always tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. You can find them online, markspain.com, to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com, and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
.37, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was just telling young Chris here, protege that he is. I'm just kidding. Protege that he is. What you are allowed to say and not allowed to say in talk radio.
I'm learning.
He is learning. But you know the great thing is with Chris is that he's learning from every one of my mistakes. Listen to me every 30 minutes, you'll find at least one shank. So there you go. And he did notice, by the way, in the Gary Sinise interview, that Gary was afraid that because he and I are on first name basis now.
Sure.
That
I'm surprised you're not calling him G.
Yo, G.
That he segued the interview along. Hey, do you know we've got this thing at the Opry House? That was very funny. And but Chris pointed out, I did tell him in the beginning of the interview, we'll get to the
You sold it in the beginning.
I did. Clock management, that's one thing I kind of sort of sometimes know about. Anyway.
So when's Forrest Gump coming out, Gary?
All right, moving right along.
Has it been tough since you lost your legs?
All right, moving right along. You guys are.
I love you, brother Dan Mandis.
Yes, we do.
But I was telling Chris that if I were single, I would have dates set up from now to the end of the year because of all the single childless cat ladies that have been hitting me up on.
They love you.
Yeah, Dan's been in here humming all the single ladies. I don't know. I didn't know why.
Number one with the single cat ladies.
Yeah. That's right. That's my core demo, my friend. Childless cat ladies. What was J.D. Vance thinking? Do you agree that that's a silly thing to say?
I thought it was pretty cool. What? All
right.
Oh, I love brother Chris, man.
Yes,
When he just comes back.
I like that stuff.
Do you have that audio, by the way?
I don't, but I'll find it.
So people are. See, here's the thing. I played it earlier today, but I couldn't. I played it live off the internet, and I can't find it again.
Got to start bookmarking those tweets, Dan.
But people are noticing that when he was talking about the childless cat ladies, he included Pete Buttigieg in that list. That flew by me in that first, so I can't. Can you see if you can find that clip?
I'll see if I can find it.
Chris is really good at, he included people on the super text line, but you missed the best part of that audio. He included Pete Buttigieg. I think that we have, at this point in American politics, it's part comedy, part, wrestling. What do you call it? WWE. WWE wrestling.
It's in your DMs.
Oh, man, you should have heard of the pearl clutching on CBS Sunday morning, over Hulk Hogan, speaking for Trump. I mean, whoever that anchor is, she had a couple of Democratic elites, and I mean, they were just beside themselves about how Hulk Hogan would be called to speak for President Trump.
What's wrong with Hulk Hogan?
Nothing. That's just it.
That's what I don't understand. It's like they hand-wring, but they don't tell you exactly why they're hand-wringing.
Right.
Like with us, we could tell you exactly down to the policy why we don't like Kamala Harris.
They don't have to tell their audience, Dan, because it's that toxic masculinity.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Can we also acknowledge that the entire Democratic Party now understands what a woman is in these past few days?
Yes. Boy, I've sure noticed that, boy.
Have you guys noticed that? You picked up on that?
Yeah. All of a sudden, they figured that out.
It's going to be historic.
All right, so this is J.D. Vance, and this is the audio. This was a while ago because this is Tucker on his Fox show.
Yeah.
All right, so here it is.
Saying is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
There you go. He did include Pete Buttigieg.
He sure did.
But Pete Buttigieg is not childless.
No,
he's got like a couple. He got didn't he? He adopted twins, I think.
I do believe you're right.
Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's why he took a whole month off when we were in supply chain problems.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
They did the photo shoot on the swing. Do you remember that?
Yes, that was convenient.
Yeah, it sure was.
Oh, man. The rest of Americans couldn't find baby food. But, that the transportation secretary certainly had them.
Yep.
All right. So you brought another piece of audio, didn't you?
I did. And is this one going to get me in trouble?
I don't know, man. This was on Fox News. We're sort of not sure if we should actually play this.
Well, you made the point that it's fair game to bring up Willie Brown with Kamala Harris. And
absolutely.
I think
if they are obsessing over Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know what? Far smarter people than me are asking the question, so I'll go ahead and ask it too. Then can't we ask about Kamala Harris and how she got involved in politics?
Well, Alec Lace was on Fox News, and he brought it up in a not-so-subtle way.
Without children. And how does that make any sense that we've turned
this is what happens when we're playing audio on the fly, Dan.
Hold on, everybody. I got 9 things going on at once. All right, here we go. You know what? That might be a message, a sign from God.
You think so?
That we shouldn't play this. Because that's yeah.
Well, you better do what the good Lord says.
Maybe it was a sign that God likes building anticipation.
Maybe that's what it is.
I want to go to your church.
This was on Fox News.
Yeah, and then there's the DEI press secretary telling you that the DEI vice president is the future of the party here. And so the future looks kind of dim for the Democrats here, but this is no shocker either. Kamala Harris, she's the original Haktua girl. That's the way she got where she is. And the party's going downhill if it's in her hands.
That was tough. That was harsh.
Now,
that was harsh.
Listen, just for the record, the consultants always tell us to put in pop culture stuff.
Right on.
That's pop culture,
so
baby.
It does seem to me like we've fulfilled that demand.
Exactly.
Now, if you don't know what that is, we're not even going to explain anything else.
I don't think we need to.
No.
If you know, you know.
That's right.
Here's the thing, though, and this is where, who was that?
Alec Lace.
So we don't need to do that. We don't need to have little quotes like that, because the reality is that between her past and her lacking of character, forget about how it's described in that audio bite. her resume is terrible. Her policies are terrible. Her past as the attorney general and the district attorney in San Francisco also mired in controversy. And yeah, how she got her start, also very controversial. So when those kinds of moments are spoken about in those terms, then what that does is that ends up taking the eye off the ball, which really is the policy and how she got her start in politics, I think, is fair game and legit game. But when you frame it in that kind of a context, then it gives the other side the opportunity to pearl clutch. Am I wrong?
Well, no, it gives the other side, but I think that we have to understand we're in a meme war. We are going to be in a meme war until November. We have early voting starting in 44 days in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. We have to be going viral, and moments like these might actually bring a little bit of awareness to how Kamala actually got her start in politics.
Yeah. They're going to be nasty on Trump. I'm telling you. They are. It is. And that was evident yesterday from her comments yesterday, how she is going to prosecute the case against Trump, tying him to rapists and that sort of thing. I mean, so buckle up.
Actually, that is true. They're trying to, I think I played the audio yesterday where she's talking about how she's a prosecutor and she knows a felon when she sees one.
Yeah, she's known people like
exactly
Trump that preys on women and cheats people out of. Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah. So you know what? If she's going to start bringing up character issues, which obviously that's part of what she said yesterday.
It's all they have, man. It's all they have.
Well, it is all they have. And Chris, you bring up a great point because she is, according to Van Jones. Do you know? We talked about this yesterday. Van Jones was talking about all of these great videos, these TikTok videos from Kamala Harris. I asked people on TikTok, and nobody has seen, except for the one that I played yesterday, nobody has seen them.
Well, and we also need to point out, TikTok is not going to let things trend that they don't want to trend.
Exactly.
They manipulate those trends. So I don't really believe anything that's trending on TikTok. But
yeah,
we have to expose Kamala Harris any way we can, and sometimes laughter and mocking is the absolute best way.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. So, all right, what's coming up next?
All right, well, I have a big show today. Andy Ogles is going to be on. Sarah McAbee, wife of J6 political prisoner, is going to be on, and then we're going to cover everything. Did you hear Trump's interview with Sebastian Gorka? Have you played any of that audio?
I have not played any of that audio.
Do you know how crazy the news cycle is? I feel so bad. Jesse Waters had an interview that he recorded with Trump and Vance on Saturday, and he's been pacing it out Monday, Tuesday.
It's already dated.
It's already dated.
Already dated.
Could you imagine that?
He did. It's already dated. And I noticed that, which is why, I played some of the audio, I think, day before yesterday, but I had it yesterday. I don't know if I played it or not. But yeah, it's already dated.
Yeah, so we're gonna cover the latest interview. I think it's his first interview since the Biden decision to drop out of the race with Sebastian Gorka. So we'll play audio from that. Plus, Joy Reid, did you play her unhinged rant today?
I played part of it.
Okay.
What part do you have?
I have all of the parts.
You have all of the parts? I played the part. Well, she's had so many unhinged rants. I don't know which one you're talking about.
This is the one where she's saying it's going to be a historic moment because Kamala is a black woman, and if you're
weird.
If you're black and you're not voting for Kamala, you're going to look weird.
Yeah, I'm astounded by the fact that she makes over $1 million a year to come up with these things. So
it's wild. So in between pushing the assassination attempt wasn't real.
Yeah,
she's now saying you're not black if you don't vote for Kamala.
It seemed like for a little bit there, they were going nuts. The left was just becoming unhinged, including Joy Reid. I think now they've got a snark about them. But the question is, okay, so that's all part of the whole rebranding of Kamala Harris. When she's out on the campaign trail, the question is she going to be the same Kamala Harris that we've seen in the past with the cackle and the word salad and the weird things that she says all the time? Mm-hmm. Or is she going to stick to the script and stick to the teleprompter? Has she had any honestly, what the woman needs is media training. That's what she really needs.
Fair enough. I mean, she opened up her Milwaukee rally yesterday with the most awkward laugh. So I don't think she's gotten any of that training that she needs. We have audio from the Kamala Harris Milwaukee rally. She's pushing hoaxes. She's saying she's for the middle class, and she sounds like she's eulogizing Joe Biden.
It does sound like she's eulogizing Joe Biden a little bit. And I got to tell you that the more time that the American people get to know Kamala Harris, I agree with Brian, where the more people get to know her, the more people are not going to like her.
They're absolutely in the honeymoon phase, and all of the media pundits have had their software update. They've gone from Joe's a hero for quitting to Kamala Harris is the best thing.
Which is
since
crazy
sliced bread.
because months ago, Kamala Harris was dragging down Joe Biden.
Yep.
It's the whole thing.
Well, remember what she told him before, the run up to 2020. I mean, she said he was a rapist.
Yep.
Yeah, she did. So, all right. Chris Hand coming up after the news at 9, Super Talk 99.7, WTN 851. Listen, you saw what happened to all those folks out there in Texas, in the Houston area. They had these massive storms and massive power outages as well. And so people in Houston, they are flocking, all of them, to go get their backup home generators. Don't make their mistake. You need to be prepared now with my friends at Cove Generators. Now, they do sell those backup home standby generators. And right now, listeners to my show, you're going to get $500 off when you mention my name, Dan Mandis. Cove Generators are your premier Generac home standby generator dealer here in the state of Tennessee. Now, if you've got any questions, call my buddy Generator Dave. He's going to answer all your questions before, during, and after the purchase. Now, remember that great deal, $500 off when you mention my name. That is a deal you're not going to find anywhere else but at Cove Generators. Find them online, covegenerators.com, 931-559-3311, 931-559-3311, covegenerators.com. $8:54 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Listen, I have been a Beehive member for years from Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, and you should too. They are your Rude Pro partner. Now, becoming a Beehive member means that you're going to get 3 annual tune-ups, 1 heating, 1 cooling, 1 plumbing, 10% off of all repairs, priority, front-of-the-line service, and no overtime or holiday fees, and yes, exclusive Beehive member promotions as well. Now, it's been, 10 years for me as a Beehive member. Call them today and tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out at 615-775-7833. They're also a great company to work for, and they're looking for plumbers and HVAC techs right now. Find them online, busybeehvac.com. Become a Beehive member as well. 615-775-7833. They are your Root Pro partner, busybeehvac.com.